Welcome back to another day, another evening. It's not evening, it's morning. Another morning of the Daily Grind. I'm your host, 30NSG, and on today's show, we're going to be talking about Windows Central. Jez Corden wrote an article called Xbox Helix and Steam and why it's no longer makes any sense. We're also going to talk about Madden 27 will test fans again with the microtransactions. We're also going to watch a video from a YouTube creator who's got 876 subscribers, but he had a video. I started watching the front part of it, and I was like, you know what? I think I'm going to watch that on stream. It's from Sony to Phony, the death of physical games. And then we're also going to watch a video from Ninhango Gamer, who's got 286,000 subscribers. I love finding people that have like hundreds of thousands of subscribers, and I've never seen them before. I just imagine like no one's ever seen me. So he says, why is every video game company self-destructing in 2026? If you guys like what I do, we do this Monday through Thursday from 10 o'clock in the morning till noon Eastern. We just cover stories, give you the news, have a conversation with you, give you my thoughts and opinions. We get your thoughts and opinions as well. If you like it, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. If you'd like to go above and beyond that, become a member as little as $5. What's going on, chat? All the music that you guys heard ahead of time, you can listen to that over on Spotify, over on Spotify, Pandora, iHeart, all the other places. And I'm working on a third album, that's the songs you heard. That'll be on Spotify, hopefully, in the next couple weeks. All right, I saw, good morning. Good morning. Let me scroll back up here and see who's all here. Big Mo, what's going on? Brain Eclipse, Aku, Altern, good morning. Elite Sony Pony, good morning. How are you? I'll answer your question just in a second. Drummond, what's going on? Good morning. There was somebody else I saw. The Charm Survivor, what's going on? Good morning. Kylo Green, just enough. Hello, everybody. How's everyone doing? All right. So let me answer your question about the Nintendo Switch 2. We own a Nintendo Switch 2. I don't play it. I'll be honest with you. I've played it a handful of times because my son has it. He has a Nintendo Switch 2. He loves it, right? He absolutely loves his Nintendo Switch 2. It's hard for me to tell, if the Nintendo is good for you, right? One, if you like a lot of third-party games, Nintendo's starting to get more third-party games. If you're wanting to get Nintendo because you like the first-party games, like you want to play Zelda, you want to play the Mario games and stuff like that, you want to play Mario Kart, I mean, Nintendo's always a solid choice. Benefits of it is that you can dock it to your television set. You can also, take it on the go, and it's less than $600. So it's definitely worth the price point for what it is. It's now if you, like I said, if you want third-party games, you might want to look into something maybe like a different handheld if you like the third-party games that are on like the PC. So graphic-wise, intensity and stuff like that. But if you don't care about that stuff, I would say, yeah, a Nintendo Switch 2 is a fine device. What's going on, Scott Wilson? I only buy it just for the exclusive games because I already have a PlayStation 5 Pro. Yeah, if you're buying it for the exclusive games and you want Nintendo, it's a solid system. Yeah. All right. Let's go start talking about, because we got the two videos. One video is like 30 minutes long. So, all right. So Xbox Helix and Steam and why it's no longer makes sense. Okay. We've talked about this in the past, right? When they were talking about the handheld device, and everyone's like, oh, Microsoft's making a handheld device. I was like, it's stupid if they make a handheld device. I was like, they should partner up with somebody. And then months later, they came out and they partnered up and they made the ROG Ally, right? And it makes sense because they're not making the actual hardware anymore. They're just licensing and making a thing that works for their system. This, now that they're trying to cut back and be like, oh, no, we're not leaving. We're still making the system, and they're making the Helix. Now, they're going to make an announcement later, I think later next month. They have or middle next month, they're going to start talking about the Helix. It makes no sense. If you're a person right now, and you don't own any of the systems, right? None of us obviously own the Helix, but maybe you're a PlayStation guy and you're like, oh, you know what? I'm going to move over to the Helix next. Or maybe you're an Xbox guy and you're like, oh, I'm going to buy the next Xbox. Or maybe you're no gamer whatsoever. You don't own a PlayStation. You don't own an Xbox. You're not playing on PC. If I was looking at these two devices and Xbox Helix came out and the PC is already on the market, right? Regardless of what the price is for Helix, if it comes out at, let's say, $1,000 or $1,200 or $1,400, right? So between $1,000 and $1,500, you get a computer, not a high-end computer, but you can get a computer for the same price as what the Helix is going to be. And the difference between that is I can then boot up Windows and buy games from Xbox on my PC. I can also buy it from GOG. I can also buy it from Steam. I can also buy it from all these other platforms that you can do, right? Where if you buy the Helix and it's not an open platform and it's just Xbox games, but it's a PC, it would make no sense to buy it because then you're only in one ecosystem. It makes no sense. So let's hear what what Jez has to say here. So Xbox Helix and Steam and why it no longer makes any sense. One of the coolest features of the next-gen Xbox is the promise of PC-like openness. But does it still make sense from a strategic point of view? Does it still fit Xbox's wider plan under Asha's Let's Discuss? All right, so it says former CEO Phil Spencer was teasing for years before Project Helix was actually revealed that it would run a PC games. He talked about platforms like Epic Game Store and Xbox Helix, for example, opening up the platform to new business models and aligning more closely to traditional PC gaming. Okay, designed for the living room. In 2026, we're also very different universe, though. The memory crisis has made customers' tech less affordable than ever. The console market has traditionally been affordable, a simple alternative to PC gaming, and several price increases later, it's increasingly looks less affordable option for more of the nerfed version of PC gaming. As an open PC, Xbox Helix could end up being absurdly expensive. Okay, now, if it's open and it's a computer, right, and you don't own a PC, then maybe you would do it. But if it's open, if it's not open, there's no point. As an open device, Xbox Helix would likely be far too expensive to justify the purchase for a vast majority of traditional console gamers and parents raising the next generation of potential console gamers as well. Users are already stretched on affordability and gravitating towards a cheaper experience. Free-to-play titles are eating into the legacy core gaming paradigm. And parents are also putting their kids on Roblox or older iPads instead of considering increasingly expensive consoles. Roblox is bigger than Steam and PlayStation combined right now, driven by the large part of Gen Alpha and younger Gen Z audiences. By making the Xbox Helix an open device, that traditional software sales subsidy goes out the window. Okay, Windows or Microsoft would have to price Helix as a high-end PC profiting on the hardware rather than the software if it couldn't guarantee users to remain in the ecosystem. This is one reason why Steam Machine ended up being so expensive. If you can install Windows on it and ignore Steam, why would Valve sell the hardware at a loss? It simply isn't viable. So if Xbox Helix is to come in a reasonable console-like price point, does that mean it has to be closed box? Subsidized by software sales rather than hardware profitability, these are questions about Xbox CEO Asha Sharma and Xbox CEO Matthew Ball are likely grappling with right now. So PlayStation has pulled out of the PC, eliminating one potential major advantage. Under former CEO Phil Spencer, Xbox began putting their games on rival platforms, including PlayStation, which also did a huge amount of brand damage for Xbox, leading customers currently to potential to think that Xbox were preparing to exit the ecosystem altogether. It says, I've written extensively on why Xbox ditching all forms of exclusive content seemed like a terrible idea, but the crux of the ultimately, why would you choose Xbox when you can choose a PlayStation, which ultimately has both Xbox and PlayStation games? That's another thing, right? Why would you pick Xbox when if they're putting everything over to PlayStation, you would pick PlayStation over Xbox because you're getting Xbox games and PlayStation games? And why would you pick Xbox if you're on PC? Because then you can play Xbox and PC games. So Xbox has positioned themselves in a kind of a predicament here, right? The new CEO, Asha Sharma, is pulling Xbox games off PlayStation in the future, though bringing Xbox in line with other major industry players again. But where does it leave Xbox Helix? PlayStation announced internally a short while ago that they are planning to drop a Steam and PC ports for its single-player titles entirely, experimenting putting some PlayStation classics like God of War or Last of Us on PC, but Sony clearly feels rightly, in my view, that they're simply training users to ignore the PlayStation 5 and maybe consoles in general. Right? Obviously, in a world where Xbox wasn't going to have any form of console-exclusive content, Xbox rocking up with Steam and Epic Game Store would increasingly indirectly impose the same limitations on PlayStation, right? Or incidentally. Even if Sony wasn't going to offer Xbox users in games, at least you could open up the Steam and play Sony's back catalog there instead. I doubt Sony considers Xbox Helix to be the big threat to PlayStation, but the idea of an Xbox brand device having a carte blanche access to Sony exclusive games probably felt like at least uncomfortable to them. Right? And that would be the reason. They wasn't stopping from PC. They were stopping if Helix is going to be a PC, then you can get the PlayStation games on Helix, and they don't want to give them that advantage, right? Now, PlayStation has pretty much officially jumped ship, and Xbox is also doubling down on its own exclusives. It disrupts at least long-term major selling points for Xbox Helix previously planned model. But the truth is, PlayStation games on PC have hardly moved the needle. PC has reams of Windows exclusive titles and haven't ever come to the console, and in some cases, likely never will. Factor in mods, big hit indie titles, and other PC franchises that aren't even a Steam like World of Warcraft. Well, perhaps PlayStation ditching PC isn't even a big deal in the Helix model. But what about the money? Right, the memory crisis breaks the economics. Open consoles would price likely at a high-end PC. The current gen consoles are now the most expensive video game consoles in decades, thanks to the Rampocalypse. And demand of AI infrastructure has pushed prices of memory chips to historically high levels, dismantling customers' electronics across the board. Now, PC shipments are down, smartphones are getting even more expensive, and lower volume systems are also getting a hard hit. Nintendo Switch and PlayStation 5 and the Xbox Series X and S consoles are far more expensive than they were at launch. The Nintendo Switch is only $50 more starting September. So that's another thing. If you're going to buy Elite Sony, if you're going to buy a Nintendo Switch, make sure you buy it before September 1st. I think September 1st it goes up $50. For Xbox Helix and PlayStation 6, the presence of huge dilemma. Next-gen consoles are usually expected to be more powerful than their predecessors, not less powerful. Price increases have historically been expected, but nobody has expected, much less wanted, 1,000-plus video game consoles. Now, the Steam Machine represents a scary vision that what's next could also look like the Xbox Helix. This is a console that behaves like a PC, is fully open, and thus not subsidized by closed ecosystem software sales. Because of that, the cost over $1,000 for base model will simultaneously be less powerful and much more cheaper, than a much cheaper PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X. If the Xbox Helix is indeed an open PC, Xbox would have no choice but to price it like an open PC. The Xbox Ally also costs $1,000 because Asus cannot make their money back on the software sales, given that they are no real distribution platform of their own. It says, thanks to Rampocalypse, those warfare merges get even thicker or trickier, even if the Xbox is losing around $150 per Xbox on X and S. Now, we used to have a conversation, right? And I said in the past that they still lose money on these consoles. And then people started pushing back on me saying, no, they're making money now. They're making profit. Well, obviously, they're still losing money. And even with the price increases, they're still losing money. So which one is it, right? So we'll continue to lose money per device after they planned August 2026 price hike. Now imagine 50% of more of the Xbox Series X and S users bypassed the Xbox ecosystem and went straight to Steam to buy games. The margins would even be worse. Without any form of software sales subsidy, Xbox wouldn't even have a business at all. Indeed, internal Xbox documents from around last winter received a verified Windows Central offer. Some insights into Microsoft's Xbox Ally gaming PC is going on that front. So around 75% of Xbox Ally users, also Xbox Game Pass Ultimate or PC Game Pass, which is an impressive figure. But the purchasing behavior of the non-subscription holders offers a bleak picture for the Xbox PC Store attach rate. And insight into Xbox Helix could go if they were open. Now, I don't know how many copies they sold or how many units they sold for the Xbox Ally. I know it's not that much. Of non-subscribing users, the Xbox Ally user has also Xbox console owner. Around a quarter of those users also made purchases on Xbox PC ecosystem. However, if Xbox Ally owners was not an Xbox console owner, that figure drops a massively 2%, suggesting that almost 100% of non-Xbox owning new Xbox Ally owners simply went straight to Steam. Yeah, because it makes sense, right? Why, if I can buy it here and buy it there, why would I buy it there? I wouldn't. I would buy it here because this is where the rest of you could play the same games. The only things you're going over there for is the first-party title games, right? So, which they're putting on PC at the exact same time. So if Xbox Helix simply became a de facto Steam box for new users, and profitability would have to come out of upfront hardware costs. Otherwise, Microsoft stands to potentially lose millions of hardware ecosystem in general. With the Rampocalypse and user behavior data from Xbox Ally experiment, Microsoft might be reconsidering the aspect of the box. Otherwise, it stands to just accelerate another generation of users to be free-to-play games, Steam, and mobile slop. He continues here by saying, but Asha Sharma has professed that Xbox Helix will support PC games. But the contracts for AMD, Xbox Magnus, PC console hybrid chips are already in place, and the silicon already being pressed, and the whole platform has been cost up and approved. Indeed, Xbox CEO Asha Sharma reiterated fairly recently that the Xbox Helix will play your PC games, although Xbox CSO Matthew Ball did say the aspects of the Xbox Helix were being reevaluated. In light of constraints outlined above, how this might end up going down the road. Option 1, some kind of paywall or subscription to open up the third-party store. Okay, this means to open up the third-party store, you would have to pay to access Steam, right? So at that point, you would have to take that, let's just say it's $10, right? $10 to access the store a month, right? Let's say they throw that into Game Pass and now it's an Ultimate Edition, Ultimate Plus Edition, right? We're just hypothetically saying stuff here, okay? They raise the price back to $30 for Ultimate. Now that unlocks, we're talking about the Helix now, that unlocks, let's say, a higher tier where you get access to the open thing. Well, over the next 3, 4, 5 years, if you're putting an extra $10 in, that's $120 a year just for the extra $10 just to access Steam, which is $240 in 2 years, which is $480 in 4 years, right? Which is $600 by the end of 5 years. Well, if you want to play your games, you can just buy a computer. And for that extra $600 you're paying to access the extra store in a world of Helix, you could just buy another computer, right? You could just buy the computer, and in the long run, it pays off to buy it up front than it does in the past. So this one seems fairly unlikely to be me, frankly, but it seems like some suggest that Xbox could set up some kind of paywall or trigger access to Steam on other storefronts. If we assume that Microsoft doesn't want to make a box that's straight up unaffordable, one way it could do ensure is that the software subsidy that makes the margins work on the other side of having users pay for pro versions that actually is open. Perhaps they could also do 2 separate versions similar to Windows RT or S mode, which also locked into the Microsoft Store. Offer a premium version and fully like a PC, but comes with a PC-style price tag. I suspect that would be difficult to market and explain, particularly given that Asha has suggested that the Xbox Helix will play your PC games. But they never explicitly said Steam would be on it. Now, option 2 here is semi-open revenue-sharing model with Epic Games on PC or other strategic partners. One thing that struck me as odd is when Phil Spencer talked about the next-gen Xbox having other stores, he actually never did mention Steam. He mentioned things like GOG and Epic Game Store, but he never actually did say Steam itself, but on Xbox, to my knowledge. Now, indeed, many Microsoft plans also be working the partners directly to more curated fashion on the Xbox PC store, for example. We see platforms with extension plug-in Xbox PC, such as Battle.net and Ubisoft Connect. Perhaps there was never really about Steam, but more about giving platforms the option to work directly with Microsoft on some sort of revenue-sharing model, which would keep the hardware subsidized, but give platform holders more control and bigger cut on profits. Now, Xbox PC sales do pay out 90% to developers, rather than the console-oriented 70%, but we also get into the hardware subsidy problems again when we talk about some of this stuff. Now, option 3, fully open, absurd price point and all. The third and final option is perhaps we'll simply sport a PC-style price tag. Perhaps a plan is for Xbox Series X to have unnatural long lifespan, and for Xbox Cloud Gaming to do some heavy lifting for those who can't afford the unaffordable console future. Now, I find it hard to imagine that Xbox console with a $1,000 price tag. I'm not sure how Xbox can achieve a $1,000 or under a $1,000 price tag with a device that sports a full Windows-style openness, especially when Xbox own data shows that users go straight to Steam when given a chance. All these 3 options, they really make no sense to ever buy the next Xbox, right? Because if you're an Xbox person right now, right, there's still people on the Xbox One. There's still 57, I think it was like 56% of the people are still on PlayStation 4s. They never moved over to PlayStation 5. There's people that are on Xbox One that never moved over to the Xbox Series S or X, right? They've been supporting those for the last 13 years. Why do we as customers need to buy the next system? Because even if the next system comes out, it takes 2 to 3 years within the cycle to get the first game. If games take 6 to 7 years to make now, right, the big budget games, they're starting on the games right now. So let's say they started making a game right now, the next God of War, the next Halo, or the next Gears, whatever, for the new systems that are made for the new systems. It would be 3 years to the point where they make the systems come out. Then it would take another 3 years before that game even comes out. So right now you have another 6 years before you actually get a physical game that's made for the new systems. You see what I'm saying? It would make no sense to even invest in a PlayStation 6 or invest in a Xbox Helix in the future, because they're not going to be making games for that thing. And right now we're at a ceiling because of graphics and the way they run. And if they're going to pitch them as, oh, well, they run uncapped frames, 120 frames, you could just go buy a PC. Again, if you're only in it for the first-party titles, which people are like, that's the only reason I own them. But yet the data shows differently, because people are not buying first-party titles across the board, okay, except Nintendo. Nintendo is the only one that leads in the first-party titles that people want to buy. Let's see. It says, should Xbox have Steam? Okay. If Xbox has to make a profit on the hardware and effectively making Steam machine in all about the name, nobody will buy it. But Asha has promised access to PC games on Xbox Helix. But then surely that does mean that it will have Steam, right? Could it be halfway, house a direct partnership with Epic Games and other platform holders? Or will it have some kind of paywall pro option to remove artificial block like Windows or S mode? I'm sure these discussions are happening at a high level on Xbox right now. What do you think should happen? Hit the comments below. So there you go. There's Jez Cordon's article. What do you guys think, right? I think it's pointless. I really do. I think obviously the small portion of people that want to buy the next console, there's always going to be, as we call them here, keeping up with the Joneses, right? There's always going to be people that want the latest, greatest technology, latest, greatest architecture, whatever, and they're going to buy the system regardless. But that is a small portion, right? A small portion of the people, if it's like 3 million to 5 million people that buy the new stuff. Everybody else is like, yeah, I don't need it, right? Hence why there's still people on the 360. There's still people on the Xbox One. There's still people playing PlayStation 3 and still people playing PlayStation 4. And they're not moving over to the next systems because of the price. The price is extremely high on these things. We're almost at $1,000 right now with the current gen system, which is mind-boggling since it's gone up in price every single year now. And it's going to go up even more. So what do? The only way they go now is that these prices rise up past the point, and then you're like, well, I'm already over $1,000 for this current gen, and now the new gen's only $200 more. But the Helix, again, does not make sense in any way, shape, or form unless it's open. But if it's open, then they're going to be losing money, and it's got to be a high price. And if I'm going to pay a high price, I might as well get a PC. But these are just my thoughts. Let me know yours in the comment section down below. Let me know in the live chat. Please make sure you share, like, subscribe, and let's go to chat. All right, so let me see what you guys are saying. Let me scroll back up here. That was a long-ass read. Good morning, Crowdy. Morning, Ray. What's going on, East? Travis, good morning. B-Bay, what's going on? Good morning. Let me scroll back up here. All right, let me start here. I love the back and forth chat you guys are doing. I'm just trying to find. Crowded says, better off investing an upfront than being fucked in the long term. Yeah, it makes no sense because, again, with that first option that he was talking about, if there is a paywall to stop you and then access Steam, just pay that fee up front. Chopper Eric, good morning, says, I never made sense to me that Steam would ever be on the console from any of the console makers. Why would you want your console with the attached storefront? Why drive sales away from another store? This is why I've said in the past, if Xbox is everywhere and you don't need it, right, then they should just be a publisher. They should be like Sega, where they just put games out there. Hence why you're buying all the studios. But now they've released 4 studios, right? They let studios go, which you're like, okay, well, I don't understand now because they're trying to save money. And then those studios, Double Fine just fired half their studio, 50%, 25% of the studio, whatever it is. Let's see. Elite says, one more question. Should I buy digital or physical games? I'm only planning to play on my Switch games as home console. I'm not a handheld guy. I mean, that's up to you if you want to buy physical or digital. Some people like both digital and physical. Some people just like physical. Other people just like digital. That's your own thing you have to deal with. Just Enough says they locked the ecosystem. That's an L. Right, they lock the ecosystem. If they lock the ecosystem, it's an L. If they charge to unlock the ecosystem, that's also an L. Mo says, if it's Play Anywhere, I'll go Xbox. Let's see here. Ray says, PC, Xbox always have the worst version of PC. Eclipse says, one good thing could do is to make it where if you buy a physical game for Xbox, you can use the digital on PC. That would be awesome. Now, if they do stuff like that, right, which I don't think they are, right, they need to do the digital rights management where I just did the research yesterday. There's so many games that come out for Steam, right? There's just about 2,000 games on Steam that are DRM free, right? There's also most games on Xbox and PlayStation right now, even though people talk about the ones that you need to establish online connectivity to play the game. Most of the games that are on on Xbox and PlayStation only need to talk to the internet to download the patch, but the game is on the disc for lots and lots of games. It's like 85 to 90%, okay? If you buy the physical stuff, right? But you have to put it in, and it goes, let's download the first patch. Like Hogwarts Legacy needs to talk to update the game, but once it's there, game's on the disc, right? Like there are games that are there. You could play Crimson Desert. Someone said earlier in the chat, you can play Crimson Desert offline. If they go a route of that way where you have to have the internet to download the patch and stuff like that, obviously, but the game is on the disc, that would go a long way with a lot of people. Now, if Sony goes one way, and we've talked about this in the past as well, that they're all on their separate islands, right? Nintendo's on their own island, Sony's on their own island, Xbox is on their own island now. They're not in the same island together. They're competing, but they're not competing. So if Sony decides to go full digital, that's what they want to do. They have their ecosystem of what they want, and they're not really competing with anybody anymore because they have their closed ecosystem. So if you choose Sony, you're in their ecosystem, right? If you choose Xbox, you're in their ecosystem, but you also can play it on PC as well. And then if obviously if you're on Nintendo, you're on their enclosed ecosystem. So they're all taking their chunk of the pie. And Nintendo kind of just hands off the baton, right? Because we joke on this show all the time that Nintendo is from like birth to death, right? You're born, they're like, here's a Nintendo. And then when you die, they're like, we'll take the Nintendo back, right? Like the age range of people on Nintendo is huge. And it has the nostalgia baked in because that's really your first gaming system that you're going to play because it's proper games that are for younger kids and stuff like that. And then they have, when you fall in love with certain series and stuff, you grow up and you like it and you want to continue playing it. But Nintendo has their baked-in audience from young. And then when you get into like the teenage years, unless your mom or dad owned the system of PlayStation or Xbox, you're not really playing an Xbox when you're younger. You're playing Nintendo and another system, right? It's not just the other system. But now, because there's not a lot of kid games on their systems of Xbox, but as they turn into like a teenage years, right, even 10, 11, you're now taking the baton off to somebody, and they're now going to pick a system. Are they going to pick Sony? Are they going to pick Xbox? And they move on from there. And then as you get older, you might move to the PC. Not saying that no kids play on PCs and stuff. They do. I'm just saying the majority of them. It's like Nintendo to the consoles to PC. Let's see here. Paper says, well, why would they host Steam? Obviously, they're salty about Steam being number one on Windows. Moore says, the dream scenario for me would be Xbox simply running Steam. Steam can stop the Steam machine nonsense and partner with the company at the hardware first. Elite says Steam is overpriced for what it is also. And things look at the made cheap hardware looks like low quality, in my opinion. Well, that's just the problem all around. Like, the prices are going to go up, and you have to try to sell people on why they should buy your system. And if you can't give me a reason why I want to buy your system, then I'm going to go PC. Aku says Nintendo leads the market. They sell more consoles and games than Sony does. This has to be known for years. Oh, 100%. That's why Nintendo can do whatever they want. They sell so much software. The ratio right now for Nintendo Switch 2s out there, and then the sale or how many people own a Mario Kart. Now, I do know it came bundled, okay, but it's not bundled anymore. And it's like 14, 16 million copies out of like 20, 27 million copies sold of a Switch. It's like, it's mind-boggling. Let me see what else you guys are saying here. El Dente says there isn't a single reason to buy a new system. For the hell, even the current gen value is trash. 100%. Right? It's like, why would I buy a new system? Like I said it earlier in the when we were reading the article. There's still more than half the people on Xbox and more than half the people on PlayStation that are still on the older systems. It doesn't make any sense. Ray says, for me, Nintendo is Fire Emblem and Zelda. I don't care about the rest, so I won't buy a console for 2 games. I had to justify the Switch 1 because I'm a huge Ultimate Alliance fan, right? And there's rumblings going on that Ultimate Alliance might come back on the systems. But Ultimate Alliance 3 was only on a Switch. And I waited, but I was like, you know what? That'd be a good purchase because I like that game. And it was worth it, but there was also other games I also bought on top of that. There had to be enough games for me to be interested in it before I purchased that system. Let's see. I only have a Switch because my brother got it for me. I was not going to get it. All right. I'm not even reading the full chat. I know you guys are going back and forth, so I don't pick. If you guys are talking to each other, I'm not going to pick it. So, all right. Also, it says Ultimate Alliance 4 with Marvel rival graphics and exclusive to PlayStation 5. Boom. Bookmark this message. Curse you. Curse you, Alternate. If that happened, I would have to have a multiple games, which I could justify, right? Because I haven't played Spider-Man 2. I'm not going to be playing Wolverine. I could get Wolverine, and I can get Ultimate Alliance 4. 3 games. I could justify it. How is... I just saw what you said. No fighting, only state facts. Nintendo has mostly lost to Sony in hardware sales in most gens and always loses to Sony in software sales. I'm silent because I'm looking up something. Okay. So PlayStation 2 right now, which is from 2000, which is 26 years old, has 160 million units. Right? Nintendo Switch 2 that came out 9 years ago, has 155.92. Okay? Like, what are we talking about? This is actually going to surpass PlayStation probably in the next year or two. Right? Then you have Nintendo DS, 154.02 million. Then you have Game Boy Color, which is 118 million. Then you have the PlayStation 4 at 117. Then you have the PlayStation at 102. But then you have the Wii at 101. Right? We've actually done this before. We actually went down and added all the stuff up, and Nintendo is dramatically ahead of them. Okay? And with software sales, no one even comes close to Nintendo. Nintendo sells so many, okay, that Mario Kart alone on the last system, you could take 3 first-party titles of Sony and add them together, and Mario Kart alone beats them in the entire franchise. One game. I'm curious on how's the traded value gone up for the PlayStation 5 after the price hikes. I don't think GameStop never gives good prices. I'll be honest with you. Born Oil says the whole gaming industry is crashing. Sorry, I didn't mean to read it like that. Sorry. The whole gaming industry is crashing because it ran by money-hungry people that get tired to settle for the great-looking with poor gameplay games. But even the graphics, in most cases, are awful. The graphics is hitting the ceiling at this point, and the games are not optimized, which is terrible. And it takes them 12 to 18 months to fix most of these games now. Once it comes out, El Dente says options are not facts. Oh, I'm sorry, opinions are not facts. Options are. Opinions are. Let's see here. Didn't Animal Crossing sell like 45 million units? I don't know. Let's look it up. Let's look it up. See, Animal Crossing total sales. The entire Animal Crossing franchise has sold 85 million copies worldwide. That's the whole franchise. Okay. Animal Crossing New Horizon sold 49.91 million copies. Million copies, right? So let me see. All right, let's go with the God of War franchise, the entire God of War franchise. Approximately 76.5 million worldwide across all major titles through the entire PlayStation, right? So you got God of War 2018 sold 23 million copies. 23 million copies. God of War Ragnarok sold 15 million copies. God of War 3 in 2010 sold 10.8 million copies. And the classic era spin-offs, original God of War and whatnot, sold 4.6 million and 4.2 million. So combined total, right? Animal Crossing by itself in their franchise has sold 85 million copies, and 49 million of that is from the last Animal Crossing New Horizons game that came out. Right? Then you have Mario Kart, right? Mario Kart total sales is over 200 million copies worldwide. And Mario Kart Deluxe, or 8 Deluxe, on the Switch, just the Switch, 71.08 million units sold. There's a console war going on in chat, 30, because of Nintendo. Yeah, well, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? 30, the new Xbox is just going to have access to all the apps on the Windows Store. But here's the thing, right? Windows runs like shit. Let's be honest. Let's be honest. Windows runs like shit. Why would I want to buy a gaming system that is running Windows? Hold on one second. All right. Sorry. Someone messaged me as I was just looking at something. All right. How people to expect to get MSRP for a used console when they're years from them being scalped? It's going to be brutal. It's going to be brutal for secondhand market for people to get systems. And then these systems that are right now, once the new systems come out, even when they go on sale, they're still going to be overpriced. They're still going to be overpriced. Crowded says Sony's going down like the Roman Empire. I don't know about that, but I won't say ever or never because shit happens all the time, right? Speaking of people that just like to get beat up and continue taking it all the time, Madden fans, right? So the next story we're going to talk about is Madden 27 will test fans yet again with microtransactions. Now, we just had a story about the college football that came out with microtransactions in the single-player game, and everyone was like, I'm not supporting them anymore, blah, blah, blah. And they're like, oh, my God, they're listening to us, and they changed it. And here we are. Madden 27 will test fans again with microtransactions. If you guys like what I do, we do this Monday through Thursday from 10 o'clock in the morning until noon Eastern. If you like it, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. If you'd like to go above and beyond that, become a member as little as $5. All right, so Madden 27 will test fans again with microtransactions. A few weeks ago, fans of EA Sports College Football 27 took a social media to protest the inclusion of microtransactions in the single-player mode, along with the removal of XP sliders in the Road to Glory. The pushback led EA removing the microtransactions from both Road to Glory and Dynasty mode, while adding new XP gain options to the latter. At the time, it had reported that should EA reverse course on anything, it wouldn't be a permanent decision. And with the launch of Madden 27 coming just over a week, that's exactly the case. Before going any further, if you like it, here's Insider Gaming talking about it. EA is adding more ways to spend money. Congratulations, you've been played. Okay. It's understood that Madden 27 will include more microtransactions in a single-player superstar mode. There will also be more monetization options in other aspects of the game to help speed up the overall progression. How anyone is still buying a Madden football game in this year is amazing to me. EA did not respond to the request of comments for the story. Of course not. When asked whether or not they increased the microtransactions in the game had anything to do with the pending sales of the Saudi Arabia PIF, one source said they couldn't be sure, but that increasing revenue has heavy discussion internally. The same source said that they were believed that the mistake came with the college football was the lack of upfront communication. They said the company is aiming to be clearer with communication, so they're just going to tell you up front, hey, we're going to bend you over and we're going to get you more microtransactions inside the game. We're just letting you know we're being communicated, we're being upfront about it. That way, we're not going to backtrack on this one. Right? So regarding the expected social media response from fans and creator sources, it says EA, prepare for what's likely to come. While we also hope for better communication will result in less of an uproar, they know there will also be a group that will be upset. However, what they're actually saying in just the, let me speak corporate speak, they understand that people are going to be upset, but they don't give a shit. However, it'll said they were unlikely. They will also pivot in a way they did for college football. Okay? They won't give in on every social media movement, one person familiar with the plan said. So what do you think? The idea for more microtransactions in sports games like Madden 27? Leave your thoughts in their comments section. You can also talk about it in our chat right now. Are you still buying, right? Are you still buying Madden football in 2026? And are you okay with this? Are you okay with them just nickeling and diming you? And now that they're upfront about it, is it okay that they're being upfront about it? Be like, oh, well, at least they told us there's microtransactions. That way I'm going to buy the microtransactions. They're literally making a game that is more grindy, okay, to make you purchase microtransactions in a single-player aspect of the game. We're not talking about no one had a problem, right? People were playing up to this point because they were okay with the microtransactions in the game because it was part of the ultimate team. But they started noticing that there was fewer people playing the game online, and there was more people playing just how Madden used to be played, single player and couch co-op type of stuff, right? Where people were playing just the single player game, and they're like, you know what's happening here is that we're not making microtransactions from more people, so we're gonna have to put microtransactions in the single player aspect of it. And how are we gonna make them pay? Well, we'll just make it more grindy for them to level up the stuff. This is so scummy in so many ways, and this is because they own the football license, right? They signed another 5-year deal because they made way more money, right? So it's like, they're just going to keep doing it. They're going to keep doing it because people keep buying it, right? And it doesn't have to be everybody that's buying it, right? There could be 10 million people that bought it, and then next time it's only 8 million people. But because the 2 million people left, the 8 million people are still paying way more than the 10 million people that were there. And this is never going to stop because people keep buying it. The only way this stops if people stop supporting it, but they're never going to stop supporting it because there's always a new tissue in the box that you pull out. If one person's disgruntled, they pull that tissue out and there's a brand new tissue waiting there to spend the ultimate price tag on microtransactions plus a $70 video game, which is absolutely crazy. But these are my thoughts. Let me know yours in the comment section down below. What do you guys think of Madden football testing more microtransactions inside the single player game? Let me know. All right. Let's see. Microtransactions in the single player game is diabolical. Yeah. I just don't understand it. I don't understand why people are okay with this. The last one I bought, I want to say it's 09. I think this is the last one I bought. There was one other one I got, but I didn't buy it. I bought the the what was it called? The ticket. I think it was called the ticket. With when you watch the NFL ticket, and they threw in Madden for free in the promotion. So I own a Madden that's I think it's 2011, but the last one I purchased was 2009. Just Enough says, I remember talking about the industry adding microtransaction boosters to single-player games like 10 years ago. Yeah, well, here they are. Don't forget, they want to charge you to reload your gun in first-person shooter games. Could you imagine playing? Just imagine it's like an arcade again, where every time you're shooting, you're like, oh, I'm out of a mag, and then you have to put a quarter in to get more. People wouldn't shoot. They just run around, make sure they got the shot. They're like, it wouldn't be full auto. It would just be like, one shot at a time, single shot. That would be horrendous. But that's basically what it is. It's basically what it is. Jez says NFL Blitz greater than Madden. I loved NFL Blitz back in the day. I think the biggest reason here, though, if another company could get the license to NFL, then Madden wouldn't be able to do what they're doing. Do you know what I mean? It doesn't matter how good the graphics are for the other game that's competing with them. If somebody else could get the NFL license, Madden would have to 100% change their business model for what they're doing because they wouldn't be able to do it. This is why they have the licensing for the FIFA, or I'm sorry, the FC, and then Madden, and now college, and all this stuff, because they know they have you by the balls. And once they have you by the balls, they can just keep squeezing. Crowd says, Mike, have you played the Halo remake, and why does Cortana look like Azzacross with a bob? I don't know. I haven't played it yet. We're playing it tonight with Sarge, tonight over on 30 and Still Gaming at like 9 o'clock, 9:15. Have not played it. Haven't looked up anything. I know Kingert had a video on it, and I know SkillUp just had a review. I haven't seen any of those because I don't want to taint my views on it when I play it. Let's see. All right. We're going to go over to a video. This one's a pretty long one. It's 32 minutes. If he talks slow, then I might pick up the pace to like 1.25, maybe 1.5. But if he's pretty good, it'll be what it is. It's from a channel called Link to the Light, which is 876 subscribers. So a newer channel. We're going to check this video out here. Came out a couple days ago. Was it a couple days ago? 2 days ago. Yeah, a couple days ago. Links in the description down below. So if you guys want to like the video, go over there, give it a sub, give it a like. All right, let's watch it.
2026 might go down as one of the worst years in video game history, with Xbox planning to lay off 3,200 employees over the next fiscal year and cutting ties with 4 of its own game studios. But I don't think that comes even close to what Sony has managed to accomplish in 2026. Earlier in the year, Sony shut down critically acclaimed remake studio.
That didn't make any sense to me. That's probably one of the... Everyone gives shit for Sony for a lot of things. This is the one that I just don't understand.
Bluepoint Games, the team behind the amazing Shadow of the Colossus remake and the Demon's Souls remake. Both amazing games, yet that wasn't good enough.
Speed up. All right, let me see what we'll do a 1.25.
For Sony. When they couldn't greenlight any projects, they just shut them down. Then after years of obsessing about live service games, they turn around and fire hundreds of employees from their only good live service studio, which was the only studio they have that could work on a live service game that was actually successful. Instead of scaling back Destiny 2 and releasing less content and lowering projections, they just fired the whole team. But the final straw that broke PlayStation gamers' backs came on July 1st, 2026, right before the 4th of July holiday weekend. They announced they were completely discontinuing the production of physical media, and the PSX would be a digital-only console. And personally, after hearing this news, just like everyone else, there was of course confusion and anger, but after that settled in over the last few days, I had a realization. Do I actually need a new console? Do I need the PS6? And I came to the conclusion that I don't. That's weird to say for me because I bought almost every new console at launch for my whole life. I'm always so excited for these launches. Just at the beginning of this generation in 2020, I feverishly refreshed every website like Target, Walmart, Amazon, and Best Buy just to get my hands on the PS5. And now in 2026, I'm at the point where I could care less about the PS6, especially with the rising prices.
Hold on one second. I lost my chat. I lost chat for a second. Give me 1 second. I gotta reopen the program. Where did it go? Oh well. All right, I got it back. There we go.
Is going on right now, and this anti-consumer move with the digital-only push. These companies think they control us, but they're so wrong, man. A lot of us are sick of this stuff. I'm done being over.
I mean, he's not wrong in saying what he's doing. I agree with him saying that, these companies think they control us, but for the most part, they do. There's a big portion of people that are okay with what's happening, so they're going to keep doing it. They know if they stay quiet. Look, remember just 2 months ago when they said, hey, you have to check in, and that was the big thing, right? No one's talking about that still. They've moved on to the physical, right? They moved on to the physical stuff.
Charge for something that in the end I don't actually need. I always thought there would always be a disk drive. I thought Microsoft.
Yeah. I remember the days that I said that, they're going to go cloud. They're going to go no disk. And everyone kept fighting me and saying, no, I'm going to buy disk all the time. I said, well, good luck to you. You can until you can't. And by 28, you can't.
Was going to be first, but Sony, I honestly thought they would be the last bastion of hope for disc. I mean, for God's sakes, they literally invented the Blu-ray. And after Nintendo came out with game key cards, I was like, man, okay, Sony's our only option now. But compare.
So when Nintendo came out with the key card, everyone's like, fucking gaming's over. I'm going to go with Sony. And they're like, oh shit, Sony did something worse. I'm going to go back to Nintendo. Nintendo's doing it right.
Compared to the no disc and digital only, I'll take the game key cards at any point.
Do you see? Key cards are bad. Sony good. Sony's doing something bad. Key cards are great. Can't believe we didn't think about key cards before. It's like, what are we talking about? They're both bad.
At least you can share those with friends or sell them online. If we knew this was a possibility, I know a lot more people would have supported physical more. And the fact that we have Sony and Rockstar doing this at the same time, it just feels wrong, man. GTA 6 is going.
That's actually a really good picture.
More. And the fact
that's such a good representation of it, right? The Trojan horse coming in, digital only is inside the horse, and Grand Theft Auto is the horse, basically, right? They're like, oh, here you go. And they're like, oh, okay, nope, everything's digital.
That we have Sony and Rockstar doing this at the same time, it just feels wrong, man. GTA 6 is going digital only, and the game case will be completely empty. And guess what? The game isn't cheaper either. So none of the savings from not producing a disc are being passed on to the consumer. It's not only not cheaper, it's tied for the most expensive game of the whole generation with Mario Kart World at $80. Make no mistake, this is the final straw for game ownership. Once it happens, I don't see it going back, unless another company comes in and fills that market. This will be the slow death of the used games market, and the slow death of sharing games with family and friends, and the quick rise of a digital store monopoly. PlayStation from here on out will control everything.
And that's the problem, but it's like that in all, right? Nintendo has a closed ecosystem, but you can still buy the games at stores, right? And still have competitive prices. But with the key card, it kind of gets a little blurry. When it goes all digital, you're not going to have that option, right? And again, this is not a Nintendo, Sony, Xbox thing. This is an industry-wide thing, right? This is why you still need physical games so to have competition and digital rights management. Or ownership, I should say.
What I've come to realize over the last couple years is that this just isn't the same PlayStation it used to be. The old guard of PlayStation is gone. The team that shot the PlayStation...
You can literally say that about every company. Every company is only by name. It's not what the people that are still there. People come and go all the time, and people's attitudes change based on who's in charge.
PlayStation 4 into the stratosphere and made PS5 as successful as it is just isn't there anymore. The Jack Trittons, the Sean Laytons, the Andrew Houses, and
what he's saying right now, though, you're looking back, and it's always better to look backwards and be like, oh, look how good we had it. But in the moment, you're like, I don't like what's going on.
Shuhei Yoshida's. Shuhei Yoshida was the one in the left of that used game video that basically won the PlayStation 4 the console war, and Xbox has never recovered from it. So when you don't have people like that making decisions at Sony anymore, I guess what else can we expect? Legendary developers like David Jaffe that created God of War and Twisted Metal, not even with the company anymore. John Garvin and Jeff
Well, he's got his own channel, and he's got some wild takes as well.
Ross, the ones that made Days Gone, they just let them walk away.
I mean, he said the companies are not greedy, and then right after that he said, well, they're only as greedy as we let them to be. Which means they're being really greedy.
Away from the company. And while I'm on the subject of Days Gone, Sean Layden was one of the biggest supporters of that game. So when he left the company, Days Gone 2's days were numbered.
Yeah, no, what I will say though regarding Sean, and as soon as Sean was gone,
yeah,
Days Gone 2 was dead.
And then after that, the sequel just never got greenlit. A franchise that's well above 10 million copies now, and you just say no to a sequel? Still to this day, I don't understand that decision. Quantic Dream and David Cage isn't even the same anymore. They started making weird cartoony games instead of games like Detroit Become Human and Heavy Rain. I know they're not a first-party studio.
That's more of a personal take, though, isn't it? Is he not allowed to make cartoony games? I mean, I get it if you don't like it because it's not your style, but is he not allowed to go make different types of games, or he always has to make realistic games?
But they made PlayStation exclusives for the whole PS3 and PS4 generation. I know they're working on a Star Wars game, but man, they really need something from them. I'd say they've done a pretty good job with contracting exclusives for the console that aren't first party, like Death Stranding 2 and Stellar Blade, but the first party has been lacking big time this generation. Soros just didn't get me excited like Returnal did, and Ghost of Yote didn't get me excited like Ghost of Tsushima did.
What's the updated sales on Soros, right? Because I know they said it was only like 250 or 300,000 copies sold. Did they ever come out with something else that said they sold more after that?
Soros just didn't get me excited like Returnal did, and Ghost of Yote didn't get me excited like Ghost of Tsushima did. Amy Hennig and Jason Rubin and Bruce Straley, all gone from Naughty Dog. The Last of Us, it's in my personal top 3 games of all time. That's why I named my daughter after Ellie. But when I named my daughter after Ellie, I named her after this Ellie, not this one, which I'm kind of ashamed that my daughter is even closely related to this character now. I could have never imagined the direction they would go with this series, but I don't know if I like the direction Naughty Dog is going nowadays. They canceled The Last of Us multiplayer game, which was just one of the dumbest decisions of all time. Sony wanted a live service game, that would have been their biggest one, easily. An Intergalactic? I mean, I don't know, man. We haven't got a release date, and it could possibly miss this whole console generation.
Yeah, that's crazy. To think that Naughty Dog, like, missing a complete generation of a game, like, not a new game on the new system. That's crazy.
Can you imagine a whole console generation without a Naughty Dog game? What the hell is going on over there? Not including remakes and remasters. We went from 3 Uncharted games and The Last of Us during the 7th generation, then 2 more Uncharted games and The Last of Us Part 2 in the 8th generation, to absolutely nothing in the 9th generation.
That's crazy. That should speak volumes. That should speak volumes, right? Naughty Dog put out 5 games in 7 years. And then they put out another 3 games in 7 years. And now in this 7 years, they've put out 0. That's crazy. How much time was wasted on the live service game that they wanted to do for The Last of Us?
So far. And I understand times have changed, but the fact that they've done nothing so far this generation other than a remake and a remaster.
Is that the number, Ron, or are you just making that up? Is it about 415,000?
And canceling The Last of Us Online, I'm starting to wonder what the hell is going on over there. Maybe Intergalactic is going to be the next Mass Effect or something, but I'm starting to get worried that they're going to miss the PS5 completely.
Well, it makes you wonder. Do they hold back, right? Do they hold back Intergalactic?
But I'm starting to get worried that
do they hold back Intergalactic for the PlayStation 6? Because just like I was saying before, to get the new system, there's no games in the new system, right? So do they hold Intergalactic back to make it exclusive for the PlayStation 6 and not put it on the PlayStation 5 at all? I mean, smart business move.
They're going to miss the PS5 completely. PlayStation under Herman Holst has been so bad, I can't think of anything they've done positive.
Yeah, I know, Crowder. We watched the video yesterday. Was it yesterday? I think it was yesterday where the guy got scammed, or was that Monday? He bought the $300 version of the Halo remake, and he got a code. There was no disc in the box.
Other than focus.
Well, there was a disc, by the way, but the game's not on the disc. You have to use the code to unlock the game.
It's way too much on live service games and destroy PlayStation's.
Let me rewind this because I missed what he said.
PS5 completely. PlayStation under Herman Holst has been so bad, I can't think of anything they've done positive, other than focus way too much on live service games and destroy PlayStation.
Concord's a big shit stain on their underwear. I'll be honest with you. Concord is right now, with all the stuff that happened in the video game industry, working on a game for 6 years and being out for 13 days and closing the studio down. That's got to be one of the biggest fuck ups in AAA gaming.
Legacy. The PS4 executive team single-handedly convinced millions of people, including myself, to ditch the Xbox One for the PlayStation 4. And unless something changes or someone gets fired, I don't know if I'll ever trust this brand again. I think it's funny how Sony was so confident and arrogant that they didn't even poll the community or ask developers what they thought about this digital-only console. They just dropped the news on everybody in some random blog. But I was the most surprised when Hideo Kojima came out, and he was disappointed. When the most legendary developer in the world that created your best exclusive of the whole generation is calling your strategy scary, I don't know what the hell you're doing. It's not about the players, and evidently it's not about the developers either. The funny thing with this all digital strategy, how many people are going to actually buy full price games? The biggest losers in my
That's a big thing, right? Because the stats from all the analytics and stuff that they talk about, they say people only buy 2 to 3 games a year. It's like full price games, 2 to 3 games a year, right? Well, there's a lot more than 2 or 3 games coming out a year at full price. So what's going to happen? There's going to be a lot of games not selling.
opinion, if we go all digital, will be the middle tier AA games. The mass market will always shell out money for the biggest titles like Grand Theft Auto 6 or Witcher 4, but what about the games that are smaller like Chronos of New Dawn or A Plague Tale Requiem? A lot of times when there's a lot of games coming out, when it's digital, it's so hard to pull that trigger to pay that full price. It's so enticing just to wait for a sale. And you know when games
That's also a part of the culture now, right? Well, I think waiting for a sale has always been a thing. And people always forget Blockbuster and Hollywood Video did exist in the past. So if you couldn't buy a full price game because you didn't want to buy a full price game, you would go rent the full price game for the weekend.
don't do really well,
And then if you didn't beat it, you would rent it again. So even if you rented it twice or 3 times, you're spending like $20, which is a third of the price, and you beat the game.
at launch. A lot of times these studios get shut down. And I find myself doing this a lot. When a lot of games are coming out, I'll use a service like GameFly to rent the newest game.
Oh shit, GameFly is still a thing? GameFly is still a thing? Well, not anymore. That's done. Year and a half, done.
I'm not sure about. Then once I figure out if I like it, I'll select the keep it option and they'll send me a case and manual at a lower price. It's really awesome. But GameFly is going to be obsolete without physical games. Unless people are just going to be renting older games and nothing new. I don't know.
GameFly would have to change their business model where it would be digital only and you would have to download it and then you could get it on your PC or something. That's crazy. I didn't even know GameFly was still around.
How they're going to survive. So you can say goodbye to the option of trying out games. There'll be a lot less discovery, meaning fewer people buying games, fewer people buying their DLCs, and a lot more people completely skipping out on the AA.
We talked about this a couple shows ago. We've talked about this back in the day. Demos are awesome, right? Demos are awesome. If PlayStation and Xbox, if they're in this closed ecosystem of digital games and they see sales starting to go down because people are not buying full price games anymore because they're just not buying every single game that comes out. And because all games are live service games and more people are staying in longer games or older games longer. If they gave an option for PlayStation Plus and Game Pass, obviously Game Pass, if they put their games up there and just give a demo for games, I think their sales would go up because you would have people try out the game and go, oh, you know what? That seems pretty good. And then they would purchase it. Do you know what I mean? But I doubt they'll do it.
Games. And to me, those are some of my favorite games every year. Backwards compatibility, which was one of the biggest wins of the past 2 generations, is going to be completely gone. Instead of continuing to build the backlog going into PS6, they're just going to cut it off. Just look at PlayStation's own YouTube account. Just 4 years ago, they were showing off backwards compatibility like it was a feature, and now they could care less.
Well, they also had 4K on the box. All of them did. 4K, 8K, up to 120 frames per second. That was all lies. They're all lies.
PlayStation 5 is backwards compatible with more than 4,000 PlayStation 4 games, so you can continue to enjoy your PS4 games collection on your PS5. And for PS4 games on Blu-ray disc, if your PS5 console has a disc drive, simply pop a disc into your PS5 to install and play. However you choose to play, keep those incredible PS4 memories alive with backwards compatibility on PlayStation 5.
That's fine, Ron. If that's what they do they offer it for their brand new games or just certain games? Right? I don't have a PlayStation, so. Like, for instance, Game Pass is basically a testing of the first-party games for Xbox because the whole game's on there, right? That's why they're losing, because they're putting their $300 million game on Game Pass and people are not buying it. Does PlayStation put their new titles on there to give it a try?
PlayStation.
No, Elite, I don't have a PlayStation 5. It's the first console I never didn't own from Sony. And it's not because I was like boycotting them or anything, right? The only reason I didn't buy one is because when it came out during COVID times, there was such a low stock option and stuff like that when it came out that you couldn't get my hands on one. So I made the choice and would refresh all the time. And the only one I could get at the time was the Xbox Series S. And then I had the S, and then my son got old enough, so I gave him the S. And because I play games with him, I got the X for myself. And yeah, and then Just didn't care because I don't care about the first party titles, most of the first party titles. So just moved on. And now I won't buy a PlayStation 6, and I'm not going to buy an Xbox Series, whatever the fuck it's going to be called next, or the Helix, just because it's not worth it.
And in case Sony forgot that players still like backwards compatibility, I want to play a clip and let's listen to this crowd.
Last year, the team decided to tackle a feature that has been consistently at the top of your request list. And while we weren't sure it was possible, today, I'm pleased to announce Xbox One backward compatibility. Your Xbox 360 games.
This is right after Don Matrix left, right? And Phil took over?
The games you've invested your time and money in, and the games...
Well, GTA 6 is not exclusive. I don't need to buy PlayStation to play GTA 6.
You want to continue...
I'll just wait for GTA 6 to come to PC. I'm okay. I waited 13 years, 14 years. I can wait 15 and 16.
...will be playable natively on your Xbox One. That's why 2 years ago, we launched the Xbox Backward Compatibility Program to bring Xbox 360 games to your Xbox One. And we've seen tremendous growth in the program. Today...
What's exclusive for the first year? Are you about to say Grand Theft Auto is exclusive for the first year for Sony? Is that what you're about to say, Elite? Is that what you're about to say? Go ahead. What are you gonna say? What's exclusive for the first year? I mean, in all consoles? What are you talking about? Exclusive to console. Oh, you're saying Grand Theft Auto is 1 year exclusive for all consoles. Okay. I'm not missing out on anything. I got plenty of games to play. I don't need to play Grand Theft Auto 6.
Our library of games stands at 385 titles, and over half of Xbox One gamers have played a backward compatible game. But I've heard your feedback and you want more. Today, I'm pleased to announce an exciting expansion to the program.
This is 2017. Okay, it says there.
Did you hear the excitement when the crowd knew that their games that they own were going to go forward to the next generation? When you go to the store and you pick up a game, of course, it's more of a hassle and it's harder to do. But the effort you put in to obtain the game was the experience. Especially with your kids, it's so fun to take them into the game store or Walmart or wherever and see how excited they are to look in the game case. And then on the way home, we'll pick up a pizza or get...
That's the best feeling, man. When you're a kid and your mom and dad bought you a video game, and you're like, oh my God, you were so excited to put it in your game system, man. It was good times. Now they're just like, yeah, I downloaded something for you. All right, cool, thanks, Dad.
Some ice cream on the way. It's a family event at that point. And on top of that, they're rewarded with something physical that they can keep and look back at years later. If you buy them a digital copy, that memory is just lost to UI, menus, and time. Or if it's far enough in the future, it'll just disappear from your library. And I also want to call out the sleazy tactics used by these publishers for the digital versions. They make it way more enticing than a physical version. With things
sure do. 5 days early access, 3 days early access, get nothing of value.
Like pre-order incentives and 3 days.
You get to test out the game for us that's broke, buggy, and unfinished on day one. Day one patch comes 5 days after you get it. Don't worry about it. We'll fix it later. Give us the $70. Give us the $80. Give us the $100.
Early access, or pre-order bonuses with skins and extra DLC packs. And also the game launches the night before at like 11 p.m., which in my opinion is the biggest benefit of everything. You don't have to wait the extra 24 hours to get your game. You can get the head start and get a whole night of gaming in. And you know with the internet, no one wants to get spoiled, so everybody's going to try and jump in early. I'm guilty of doing this a few times myself. I remember being so excited for Resident Evil 2 and 3 remakes that I bought the collector's editions for the games, and I also pre-ordered the game digitally so I could play them at midnight. It was really dumb, but I was also willing to pay the extra money to get that extra day. That's how excited I was. It's like when you buy one of those light
Bear Scrub says, 30. What if Sony gave you a full library of all games you've ever installed on your PSN account when you buy a PlayStation 6? So you're saying backwards compatibility. That would be a huge selling point. If I had my PlayStation, are you saying like full library? So PlayStation 3, PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5, every game that you own, you could play on the new PlayStation. That'd be a huge benefit. A lot of people would be like, cool, I could still put my old games in that system and play. Fantastic, right? But I don't think they're doing that. I mean, this what if moment in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, maybe.
Lane multipasses at Disney World, so you don't have to wait in line for rides. And those usually cost up to like $45 a day to get. People are willing to pay to not wait. And you know, the funny thing about the digital versus physical stats that they're just throwing out to the internet, they have not only skewed the stats by lying to us about the comparisons, but they've been giving...
Oh, well, of course they're going to skew the stats. They're skewing the stats because they're trying to sell while they're doing it. They're not doing it because they want to do it, because of greed. They're doing it because, well, you, the consumer, have said to them that you like digital better. That's why they're doing it. They're not doing it because of them. They're doing it because of us.
In digital, all the...
That's the way they're selling it, by the way.
Incentives for years. Can you imagine if it was the physical version of these games that got the pre-order bonuses and the early access, and the digital versions got nothing? People would be running out to the stores to get their...
100%. If all those things, the 5-day early access and stuff like that, people would 100% go physical
copies every single time. I also gotta say, I'm so sick of hearing a specific set of people saying that the digital future was inevitable, that they thought the PS7 would be the generation that we'd go all digital, that they didn't think it would be as early as the PS6, and they're just surprised.
Look, I knew this was coming. I just didn't think it would be this fast.
Such dramatic. Such a drama. I didn't think this was going to happen so fast. Shut up. You worked in the industry. How did you not see this? How did you not see this? I have a YouTube channel for my house. Been doing this for 10 years. I've been talking about it for 10 years. What are you talking about?
I mean, after the announcement was made, Sony stocks climbed by...
I like how everyone thinks this has just happened like overnight. Like, this shit's been happening for a fucking decade. We talked about it for a fucking decade. Just my channel's small. No one knows who I am, right? But holy shit, we've been talking about this the entire time. And people said, oh, no, it's never going to happen. It's never going to happen. Well, here we are. I mean, we didn't know it was going to happen so fast. I don't know if you know this, but you're not 23 anymore. You're in your 30s. You're approaching 40.
7%. It was, despite all of our outrage, a significant success. A success that is, again, much larger than just, oh, some extra revenue from an already dying part of the industry.
But when I hear that, I'm always thinking, why? Why does it have to happen for the PS6 or the PS7? Physical media will always be timeless. People are always going to want it. There's always going to be a younger generation growing up that will eventually have dispensable income. And
the problem with the younger generation is that they're being conditioned right now, right? Even though there's still physical in the world, a lot of the kids play on, tablets, cell phones, and it's all digital, right? They're all okay with it because they've grown up with digital. That's what it is.
Want to come back and buy their favorite games. It's not like in 2028, it's suddenly a year that physical media goes out of style. It won't even be out of style in 50 years. I mean, vinyl records are more popular than ever. Even CDs are gaining traction. So why does an older way of buying media have to die, other than the greedy corporations wanting it to? I just want people to stop saying digital is inevitable. It doesn't have to be.
Yeah, I love what that's just giving up. They're like, nah, it's over, guys. I can't do anything about it. You can just not buy it. I know that's a hard thing that nobody wants to actually hear. I'm stabbing myself in the eye. What do you mean? Just stop doing it. No, I just can't. I just can't stop doing it. Right? It's like, what are we talking about?
That way. There will always be people that want to buy and collect video games. And I also got to point out how game sales are tracked. If someone buys a digital game at launch and then buys a physical game years later on eBay,
it's
only one of those sales are going to show up to Sony, the digital one at launch. They can't see that used game sale on eBay because it's sold by an individual.
Well, actually, it gets tracked in the beginning because GameStop actually makes the purchase, right? They're buying it ahead of time. That's why the pre-orders were there, because they wanted to make the sale. So they didn't want to buy too much because they didn't think they were going to sell. So they'd overbuy by a little bit. So they didn't have a lot of stock on the shelf, right? So Sony gets that price right at the top. That's why they say, oh, we sold 5 million copies. But now with digital, they cut out the middleman. They don't need to sell it to those other people. And they know that once it gets bought digitally, it's directly into the ecosystem. Where before it's the stores buy it, and then the people have to go to the store to buy it, and then they have to make an account and whatnot to get in the ecosystem. Where digital, you have to have an account to buy the games off the store. And then once you have that, you're already in the ecosystem, and then you buy it, it's instantaneously in the ecosystem.
So that physical sale is never going to get tracked and included in those digital versus physical stats. But that doesn't change the fact that the person decided to buy it physically. But if we flip the example and someone buys a physical game at launch from Amazon, for example, and then years later they buy the game digitally on the PlayStation Store, say during a Black Friday or summer sale, Sony's going to see both the sales. Because you can't buy a digital game off eBay, digital sales are never hidden from Sony. It's not like the physical ones that are just hiding in the shadows. Just think of all the physical game sales they're missing from the stats. The used game market is a $7.2 billion industry.
They don't care about that 7.2 billion. They don't care about it because they're not making any of that 7.2 billion.
And Sony is trying to kill it off completely. And of course they are. They want the whole damn pie. And I think they know this. They're trying to pass it off like physical sales don't matter.
What did that article say?
And of course they are.
PlayStation is risking a $7.2 billion used games market by ending disc production. Yeah, they don't care. They're not getting any of that $7.2 billion.
They want the whole damn pie. And I think they know this. They're trying to pass it off like physical sales don't matter and it's so minute. But they know there's a lot more out there and they want it. They want all of it, man. Next, I want to address a video of a clip going around right now from Luis Rossmann, and he said he doesn't care if discs go away because we're focusing on the wrong issue, that DRM is the main problem.
And today we're going to be talking about Sony discontinuing the idea of having physical media for your games and why I don't care. Many of you may be thinking, Lewis, why don't you care about this? Don't you care about ownership? I can't believe you said that you don't care that Sony is not giving you a physical copy of your game anymore. Honestly, couldn't give a fuck. Completely irrelevant, in my opinion.
Well, you should. Maybe you don't care personally, but you should because of competition and prices.
And I'm going to show you why. Yes, Sony does like to take things away from you that you already bought and paid for. They recently did this where they said as of September 1st, 2026, because Play has no limits, you will no longer be able to watch any of your previously purchased Studio Canal content. But they can do that to physical media too. Exhibit A.
100% can still do it to physical media for certain games. Now, if I take the example of the live service game that was online and you had to play it, 100%. Single player games, you can still play off the disc. Not all single player games, because some single player games, they have to connect to the online. So you have to do your due diligence on which games that you purchase and which games are online and which games aren't online. Now, there are games that you need to connect to online to just do the update. But once you do the update, then you don't need to play online. So if you lose the servers and stuff like that, and the game is actually on the disc, well, then you can play it. With games like this, they weren't on the disc.
The Crew, the game that started the Stop Killing Games movement. That's a physical disc. Do you care that you have the physical disc? Does having a copy of the disc make any change? What matters is digital rights management and required connectivity to an online server.
All right, I want to respond to this first part. Around the internet, The Crew is the most infamous and most used example for a disc-based game that has shitty DRM. Even though it's on a disc, the game requires you to still connect to a server. And when the servers were taken offline, the game was rendered useless. Essentially, the disc is just a coaster now. And yes, this is absolutely one of the worst uses
It's like Battleborn, my coaster.
The physical media any gamer will ever run across. But The Crew is part of the minority. When it comes to games that are actually playable on disc, if you reference a
Yeah, see, this is physical games.
Site like DoesItPlay.com and confirm that most discs are completely playable offline, over 90% in fact. And 3% of the games cannot be played without an internet connection and are part of the red category. These are the discs that will eventually become useless 10 or 20 years from now. So while we can agree that The Crew is a great example of terrible
but that number is going to shrink dramatically because there's not going to be any physical games.
DRM for a disc-based release, the majority of games released on disc today still work great and protect your ownership of that game. Let's listen to the next part.
I would much rather have a game that has no DRM, no requirement to connect to a server that I don't have a physical copy of, than I would a game that I get a physical copy of. Having a physical copy of a game does absolutely fucking nothing to ensure that the game remains playable over time. And that is my point.
It all depends on, I love the cat's face behind him. It all depends on what game it is. But he is correct on what he's saying.
I see people getting angry over not having a physical game. You shouldn't care. You should be able to download your game that you get the code to and burn it to a DVD or a Blu-ray disc if you want, or play it off of your hard drive. You should be fine having an only digital copy of your game. You should be excited that you have...
If you had the digital rights, right? If you owned the copy like you did with the physical back in the day, where they can't come and take it from you, sure. But because there's online games, because there's always online games, because there's live service games, right? Even with the disc, it doesn't matter for those types of games. Single-player games, majority of them do not need to be online to play, but they need to online to upgrade, or update, I should say.
The digital-only copy of your game. The problem is not the fact that you don't have a physical copy of it anymore. The problem is that they come with digital rights management that does not allow you to do what you want with what you bought and paid for. And the other problem with it is that it requires connect...
The cat's sitting there going, I hope he's done soon. I really want pets.
Activity to an online server in order to work.
Now, for this portion where he's talking about where he would much rather have a digital copy and the ability to burn the game on his own disc, well, I think that would be awesome. Why can't we just get a good physical disc to begin with? Maybe.
Well, here's the problem, right? People that talk about disc rot and stuff like that, okay? That's because you buy like cheap discs. Remember when you went to the store, there was the cheap discs and there was the more expensive discs? When you bought the more expensive discs, those are what they use at like the plants and stuff like that. But then they make cheaper discs which don't last as long, and the film comes off and stuff like that if you don't store it correctly or put it in certain places, right? Obviously, the companies are using high quality discs. That's why they last long.
It's just me, but I love buying an official product. I want a fully packaged disc that was made by the developer and sold to me. I don't want to have to scrounge through files and have to burn things on disc myself. And 2, the game wouldn't even have a box or have cover art, and everything we've come to expect from video games over the years. I hear this opinion a lot from PC players. They've become so accustomed to using Steam and not having physical media that they struggle seeing the value of the physical side of the purchase. I love getting that official game case and disc. I love seeing the artwork and
I love machines that were made for just one purpose and the thing they do. You ever watch those videos online? We just watch the machines just make whatever they're making. It's fucking amazing to me.
cover of the game. Every new Final Fantasy game has amazing artwork. I love seeing the artwork on the inside of the case, behind the disc. I love seeing the artwork on the disc, and in rare cases, maybe it'll even come with a manual. And yes, of course, we don't want disc releases like The Crew, or games like Hogwarts Legacy, which you can't even get out of the tutorial section without updating the game. Those releases should be shamed and are bullshit. But again, those are the minority.
It's just to do the patch, but you can play that game offline. I've done it.
It's just a small subset of games. And then I have one more section I want to listen to, and I'll respond after.
In order for you to have ownership of what you bought and paid for, it's not just about having something that's shiny that you can see in your hand. It is about buying products that are not sold with this type of crap. I'll give you an example.
Did you see the cat real fast? Like, hold on.
More section I want to listen to, and I'll respond after.
He was petting. See, the cat doesn't care. That's why I love cats. I love animals just in general, but the cat's like, oh my God, he's petting me. Oh, he's still talking, but it's fine.
In order for you to have ownership of what you bought
the hell?
and paid
Where's
for,
that hand
it's not
going?
just
Did you see the hand? Like, why can't you keep petting me?
about having something that's shiny that you can see in your hand. It is about buying
Like, what the fuck just happened? I was getting petted, and now I'm not getting petted.
products that are not sold with this type of crap. I'll give you an example. GOG, good old games, GOG.com. These are games that are sold with no DRM. You can go to GOG.com right now, and you can buy games that are digital rights management free. No.
Here's the thing, though. I like Lewis, right? I like watching his channel. I think he's very very good at what he does. Okay, and he's very educational when he speaks about stuff. But at the same time, not every person's going to go buy a disc burner to go burn their discs on their thing. You can, I mean, if you're doing the thing, but those are all costs to you on top of your purchase of the game, where before you could just buy the game. And all that's included. The case, the burning of the disc, the artwork, like the manual, all of that's included in your price of the $70 now.
DRM, these are games that you can download and that you can copy and that you can burn to a piece of physical media yourself. I was told that games on GOG are DRM free. Is that true? You can burn the installer parts to discs and you'll get a prompt to switch discs. Actually, playing the games from disc will vary from game to game. But yeah, you can actually buy games at this point in time that don't have digital rights management. Now, when you buy games from those websites, you won't get physical media, but because they don't have digital rights management on them, you can make your own physical media of the game and you can play it however you want. The game will work in 2026. The game will work next year. The game will work in 2036. The game will work in 2096 if the world is still here by then. And that's what matters. I want to...
Yeah, it might work then.
Make sure that everybody watching this video keeps their eye on the ball. Whether or not you have access to physical media does not matter at all. You can make your own physical media of the game. Just because you can hold the game in your hand does not mean that they won't take it away from you. And the proof is right fucking there. Demand that the games that you purchase don't have digital rights management on them.
Right.
Stop buying games if they have digital rights management on them, and stop playing things that require connectivity to somebody else's server in order to work. It's one thing if it's a choice to connect to their server. It's another if it's a requirement.
Now, this is just...
That's the big thing, right? Choice compared to you're being told. And that's the problem if it goes all digital.
More talk about having the digital copy and being able to burn it yourself. But from my research on burning disk, it's not great for long term. Let me explain why. I pulled up AI just to see what the difference was between factory disk and burnt disk, and this is what it says. If you were looking at pure physical longevity, factory press, regular disk win by a landslide.
Of course they do.
Burnt disk are actually one of the worst choices you can make for long-term archiving. The difference between factory press retail game disk and home burn disk comes down to a fundamental difference in physics, chemistry, and hardware capability. While they look similar from the top, they are manufactured using entirely different technologies, which is why a retail disk will almost always outlive and outperform a burnt copy.
This is why when you bought those discs back in the day, if you guys remember, you would have to buy a good quality disc. But you didn't want to pay that price, so you bought the shitty discs.
For factory press disc, when a company like Sony manufactures a retail game, they use a glass master to physically stamp or mold data directly onto the polycarbonate plastic substrate. The data exists as a microscopic physical bumps, pits and lands. A highly reflective layer of aluminum is then applied over those physical plastic bumps. The data is the structural plastic itself. And when it comes to burnt disc, a blank recordable disc contains a completely flat layer of organic chemical dye. sandwiched inside the plastic. When you burn a game, your PC's drive laser shoots intense heat at the die, creating dark, chemically altered spots to simulate the look of physical pits. Because of this core engineering difference, pressed disk went out. Because homemade discs rely on organic chemical compound, they are highly vulnerable to environmental decay. Over time, the organic dye naturally breaks down, shifts, and fades. Exposure to UV light from standard room lighting, ambient heat, or humidity drastically accelerates this process, causing what collectors call dye rot. A standard cheap...
And this is why people think the dye rot's more prevalent than it is. It is on shitty discs, not the ones that are professionally made.
Burnt disc can easily become completely unreadable within 2 to 10 years. Pressed discs have no organic dye to degrade. The only real threat is moisture slowly oxidizing the internal aluminum layer, which is disc rot. But if kept indoors in standard jewel cases, factory pressed disc can easily last 30 to 100 years without losing a single bit of data. So while I think burning disc is an awesome idea, it's not something that I'm going to trust that's going to last forever. And since a lot of us don't have access to the factory to press our own disc, the idea of burning our disc is just nonsense when it comes to preservation aspect. And on top of burnt disc being just inferior in general, the reality that we have to not only purchase the game digitally, but now we're expected to pay for a blank Blu-ray disc on top of the game.
Yeah, see, the BDRs and stuff like that, when you buy like a cheap version of this stuff, right, that's why they don't work after 2 to 10 years, because they're the shitty discs that they're selling to the customers.
How many people are going to have a device to burn those Blu-ray discs, which can range from $30 up into the hundreds of dollars? And what if you want artwork on the disc? You gotta buy some kind of vinyl sticker paper to print on that as well, adding even more money to the process. And finally, if you want a case that holds your disc, you gotta buy your own cases, which can cost a pretty penny as well. So we've went from buying video games at $70, which include all this stuff, to still paying the same price, because we all know digital games aren't cheaper, and add on all the expenses of...
Which is crazy, right? Digital games aren't cheaper. They're just as expensive.
Burning the disc and creating all the packaging ourselves.
Remember, they told you, digital games... They were going to be cheaper.
While also losing the hours and days of your time trying to figure all this stuff out. In what reality are people actually going to do this, outside of the hardcore enthusiast? And when it comes to Luis saying you should just download your games like GOG and forget about disc, can Luis honestly say that he's going to download every single game that he owns on a hard drive?
Hard drives are another problem, right? I'm sure he's going to go into that. Hard drives, storage capacity is another problem. Because if you go all digital and you're keeping all your stuff, it's a lot of fucking hard drives. And to back up your hard drives, you have to have more hard drives. And then you don't know when that hard drive is going to fail. So you have to have a third backup hard drive just in case your first hard drive fails and your second hard drive fails. And then when your first and second one die and you have a third one, you have to go buy a new one. And prices of, storage devices are going up in price as well.
Like as a digital backup, how is that even going to be possible for anyone with a big library? I have 1,000 digital games on Steam, Epic, GOG, PlayStation, Xbox, and Nintendo. Do you realize how many terabytes of storage it would take to hold all those games? Let's just do some basic math. If you have 1,000 games and estimate them out to be like 50 gigs each, which is pretty conservative since most AAA
since Call of Duty is like 120.
Games are well over 100 now. I think Destiny 2 was over 200 gigabytes the last time I downloaded it. But just for this example,
200 gigs for Destiny, Jesus Christ.
1,000 games at 50 gigabytes comes out to 50 terabytes of storage. A 48 terabyte hard drive on Western Digital's website will run you $2,580.
Oh, that's it? $2,584 just to keep your games on the thing? Might as well go PC.
$84. And that's still not enough to hold my current catalog. What about the next 10 or 20 years? I guess I'll just throw another $2,584 on there. On top of that, hard drives fail all the time. I just lost an external hard drive the other day and lost 5 terabytes of storage and gameplay. Yep. So no, I don't trust hard
Been there, done that.
drives like I used to. With disk, you can have thousands of gigabytes of games stored safely on your shelves for decades. Each one of these game cases has a disk inside. If one of those disks fails, you lose one game and you just go get a replacement copy. But if that one massive hard drive fails, say goodbye to your entire collection all at once. And the ultimate question is, what happened?
Gee, imagine if the studio, Xbox, Sony, or Nintendo, you're all digital, decides that, hey, someone tried to hack your account and we close your account down. You've lost everything. And you're like, oh, thank you, sir. May I have some more?
If GOG goes offline, you won't be able to download those games at all. Being DRM free doesn't matter if the files are completely gone. You still rely on their company servers to download that DRM.
Well, no, that's not how that works. If GOG goes bye-bye, but you already downloaded the game, then you own that game. You can do what you want with it. Regardless if GOG disappears, you can still boot up that game and play it.
Product, unless you have 100 terabytes of storage to put everything on it. You just got to pray that hard drive never fails. So for the people saying that disks still rely on servers for day one patches, yeah, that's true for a handful of releases. And I think we should always call out those shitty disk practices. But at least for most disks, I won't need a network, and I won't have to drop $2,000 on a massive hard drive. Again, I'll take my game disk any day of the week. At least the ones that don't force an internet connection down my throat. Do you ever wonder why a great video game suddenly vanishes from the digital storefronts? If it's a
It's mostly because of license agreements or music deals, intellectual property is mostly why they do that.
Sports game or a racing game from EA, for example, it's not a glitch in the system. It's usually a legal clock that's just ended. EA relies heavily on third-party licenses for their games. They'll make deals with leagues like the NFL or major car brands, but they only last about 5 or 6 years. These publishers are always going to choose saving money over preservation. Renewing those contracts become expensive, especially with hundreds of player likenesses that expire, team logos, and copyrighted soundtracks. If an old game is no longer printing money, EA is just going to pull the plug and delist it, which I don't necessarily blame them for the digital version, but having a physical version, you could still keep all of this. A perfect example is Madden 09.
Hey, he's got the same one as me.
Lifelong Packers
That's
fan,
the last
and
one I
love
bought.
having
Yeah,
it.
where it was Brett Favre with the Green Bay Packers and also the Jets. Right? You could swap it out and get the Jet one.
This game, Brett Favre is my favorite player of all time, but this game has been delisted for a long time. The licenses for all the players have expired, so you won't be able to go back and experience this game that maybe you played in high school, unless you have the physical copy. This is exactly why digital-only future is so dangerous, man. When corporations have total control of the digital marketplace, you aren't going to be able to go back and find those older games, especially older sports titles and racing games. Or look at my favorite racing game, the arcade racing masterpiece Blur.
Never played
It
it.
isn't backwards compatible at all, meaning it's completely stuck on older hardware. And it's actually even worse than just being delisted on console. You can't even go buy that game digitally on Steam anymore. The game's music and car license expired on there as well. The digital version is just completely extinct. The only way to experience it today is if you buy.
Well, don't worry, Ray. Make the problem, sell the solution, right? So, obviously, if everything goes digital, Sony and Microsoft will have your back. They'll make Xbox branded thumb drives and hard drives so you can store all your games on there for the low price of whatever it is. Don't worry. They got your back. They really support their fans.
An Xbox 360 or PS3 disc. Another example is X-Men Origins Wolverine. It was delisted because Activision's license with Marvel expired as well, but you can still play it if you have a disc. 007 Quantum of Solace and 007 Bloodstone have been delisted because the James Bond license expired. And the same goes for Born Conspiracy. These are the games I won't sell. I'm always going to keep these copies. And then there's another niche example I kind of want to talk about. It's called Immortal Unchained, which is a really underrated Souls game with guns. The game used to be on the PlayStation Store, but as of 2026, if you want to buy it digitally on console, good luck. The PlayStation Store's game page is just a
The problem what you're saying there, B-Bay, is that you're talking about Steam, but people on PC have options. They can buy the game from Epic. They can buy the game from Steam. They can buy the game from GOG. They can download it from other sources. There's competition still on PC. You guys always talk about just Steam, but as a PC, you have. I mean, I can just literally move the mouse like this, and I'm Epic, GOG, Steam, and wherever else you can purchase the stuff. There's still multiple places that you can buy the stuff. Where are you buying? Where are you buying your games when you're on Sony? Where are you buying your games if they're all digital on Nintendo? Oh, that's right, Nintendo. It's on the system, on their store. The PC is not Steam, right? Steam is just a storefront on the PC.
wishlist page stuck in limbo because the game's license was sold and never fixed. If you want a digital copy, it's only available on Steam, or you can get a physical copy off of like eBay or something. Then we have The Sinking City, which was completely delisted because of publisher issues. The game was actually missing from digital stores for 3.5 years. And if it wasn't for Frogwares caring so much about that IP, they probably would have left it in limbo. Or look at the original Alan Wake, my favorite game of all time. It was entirely delisted for over...
No, they don't hold a monopoly. It's people like using them because they're the best on the platform. But they do not hold a monopoly. There's other people that you can buy games from. You can literally go to Windows and buy games. You can go to third-party game places and buy games from like their own old thing. Like Hightail is not even on Steam. There's so many other things that are not out there. I can also buy from Blizzard.net. I could buy from Ubisoft. I could buy all these games without using Steam.
a year because of the music licenses. Luckily, Remedy was able to renew them, and the game was put back on digital stores. But for how much longer? 10, 15 years? I just wonder how long Remedy's going to keep renewing it. Remedy's games don't do gangbusters, so it's very possible they could get shut down someday. I would literally hate that. But at that point, their games and licenses are all left in limbo. Unless someone buys them up and renews the licenses, it's a very good possibility my favorite game of all time will eventually just be gone forever. But you know what? I'll always have my physical copies.
Well, it all depends on what games, Leo. If you have certain games, there are games on Steam that are DRM free, right? So it all depends on what they are. You can go look up if they're DRM free. It says it on the actual thing, and if they are, you could download the files. So if you have a hard drive that actually is going to get fucked up or Steam goes bye, you can download There's almost 2,000 games on Steam that are DRM free.
And probably the most infamous example of digital rights being completely destroyed happened back in 2014, when PT was completely removed from the store. Even if you had downloaded it and it was in your download history, you still couldn't re-download it. The only way to keep it was to never delete it from your hard drive. But eventually my hard drive is going to fail and PT will be gone forever.
So that's bullshit. All they have to do to fix this is if I download the game, it's mine. Once it's mine, as long as I keep it up, like maintain what I have. So if I have the thing, and let's say they get it off, delist it, okay? If I delete the file off my hard drive, then that's on me. But if it's on my hard drive and I move it over to another hard drive, right, then I can continue playing the game because I'm keeping up with it, right? It's the separation of you wanted to sell me something, I bought that thing, now it's my responsibility on how I use that thing and how I maintain that thing.
I know it was just a demo for Silent Hills, but a physical version of that on a disc could have saved it forever. I think a lot of us have forgotten the month-long outage of PSN back in 2011 that lasted for over
Not me.
24 days. At the time, it was one of the largest security breaches in history, where 70 million people's accounts information was hacked. Back then, having a disc was a godsend. You couldn't even access your digital libraries, and the disc was the only way you could play your games. Who says this couldn't happen with the PS6? And I will say, even if I do end up getting a PS6 for a specific game like Days Gone 2, Last of Us Part 3, or Uncharted 5, that will be all it's for. The PS6 will essentially become an exclusives machine for me. And if Sony stays with this digital strategy, PS6 will never be anything more than the second console to me. And it really makes you wonder, does the end of disc mean the end of game cases as well? Are they still even giving us something to put on our shelves? Will everything look like Grand Theft Auto 6?
I think at this point, I think there'll be, when discs go bye-bye, someone will find a way, or someone will make a business, or like limited run games, basically. Well, they'll get limited runs and people will pay a higher fee, right? So right now, let's say the standard price for a game is $80. But someone does a service and that game costs $100 to you, but you want the physical copy, someone will probably do that for you. Someone will make a business for that.
Where the depressing case is just empty? Are they going to completely pull boxes off the shelves and just leave us with those cheap digital cards hanging on the pegs at the store? They think game cases and discs don't matter anymore, but my kids, even though they love their tablets and our phones from time to time, they are enamored by my physical collection. They pull them off the shelves and look at them all the time and ask me to play them. And guess what? One day I'll pass them down to them. Good luck doing that with the
And they're just going to throw them out the window. They'll be like, what the fuck is this? I don't know. My dad gave me a bunch of plastic boxes I don't care about.
digital collection. If you want to protect your game library and truly own your games, I suggest keep buying disc, at least the good ones. That's the real tragedy of this whole thing. They used to be the company that stood on stage in 2013 and gave a list of reasons why used games and disc are great for the consumer. They're the ones that quickly recorded a video of two executives exchanging used game. Where the hell is that, Sony? Now they're just a hollow corporation machine trying to trap us in a closed ecosystem where we absolutely own nothing. But it doesn't have to stay that way. Don't forget that the only reason Microsoft reversed their
Sarge says, that's evil, bro? How is that evil? Our stuff, our kids probably don't give two shits about. Maybe they do. Maybe they're sentimental. They're like, oh, it reminds me of my father or my mother or whatever, right? But for the most part, they're going to be like, I don't want this. Because in the future, there's not going to be that.
disastrous policy back in 2013. It's because the entire gaming community stood up and said, hell no.
They'll sell a little handheld device, Sarge, like they do right now for our stuff when we were kids, right? The little handheld that has 50,000 games on there for $100. That's what they'll sell with all of these games on the future of a handheld device that someone makes.
We forced their hand by refusing to buy into that vision. Sony really is on the clock. They may stick by their decision now, but we have a year and a half to convince them otherwise.
I've been thinking about this a lot over the last couple weeks, whether I think they'll reverse this decision or not, and I really don't think they will. But I say that with one caveat. I don't think this leadership team will. They are the most stubborn executive team I've ever seen. They're the ones that can lose $400 million on one live service game, and then come out and say they're not giving up on live service games. If you want to
like, imagine that. Lose $400 million, and then you're like, and plus you lost a whole bunch of money on the live service games that you didn't release. You canceled them. And now you're doubling down, tripling down on more live service games.
Save money, give up on that crap rather than disc. But you know what? A lot can happen in a year and a half, and I'm starting to think one or maybe both of these guys are going to get fired before the PS6 even comes out. And maybe, just maybe, PlayStation can have their Asha Sharma moment too, where a new CEO can come in and change the direction completely. That's what I'm hoping for. But we got to do it by voting with our wallets. Show them that we want physical. Go out and buy physical as much as you can. Avoid digital completely. Don't fall for the midnight launch hype.
See, I don't think you have to avoid digital completely. There are games that are digital that make sense. There are games that are physical that make sense. This is why I'm always saying that I just want choices. Once you take away the choice and it's only digital, you no longer have choice and they control everything. With physical discs, they don't control everything, right? There's always another option for you to go buy something if it's convenient for you, right? For people that are just like, it's over. I like digital, fuck physical. I don't know what's wrong with you, because if you're a digital person, great. I'm not shitting on your thing. So why are you shitting on other people that want to buy physical still, when there's a huge portion of people that still buy physical?
Wait till the next day and ship your games. We can do it, guys. It's going to be hard, even when games come out that we really, really want. But if we want physical games saved, it's something we got to do. We got to sacrifice for now. Let's skew the metrics back the other way. And until they see the error of their ways, I'm not buying the PS6. I'll just go elsewhere, man, and continue to catch up on my backlog. And honestly, I think everyone should do the same. Now, let me ask you guys this. Are you buying the PS6? Do you feel that Sony has lost their mojo?
I'm not buying any of them.
Have they went from Sony to phony?
That's a good meme. Physical games are over in 2000, 2010, 2028.
Let me know down in the comments. But with all that said, thanks again for watching, and until next time, stay in the light, my friends. Later.
So there you go. There is his name. His channel's name is Link to the Light. He's got 876 subscribers. Link in the description down below. Give it a like. Give it a sub. Links in the description, like I said, down below for his channel. Yeah, it's crazy to me. If any of you are the type of people out there that say that physical is done and we shouldn't have physical anymore, I hope your child, your significant other, takes a magnet and lays it on top of your system and deletes all of your stuff. That's what I hope. I hope they delete all of your stuff, or someone drops your PlayStation and you lose all your stuff. That's what I hope for you, right? Because that's what you're hoping for me. To stop all physical stuff from happening and having choice. I hope you lose all your library. Because that's what you guys want from me, right? Those of you that are like, fuck physical. People still like physical. Joke's on you, it's all saved in the cloud. Keep paying. Keep paying until you don't pay anymore, and then you don't have a cloud. And that way you're actually paying way more money. You're not just paying $100 to play on the cloud. You're paying a lot more money. Take away the magnets. All right, let's go to the next thing, which is why is every video game company self-destructing? It's a good question, right? It's a good question. It's from Nihongo Gamer. He's got 289,000 subscribers. I've never heard of him before, not to make fun of him or anything, because no one's heard of me either. But it's always crazy for me when I find somebody that's got 200,000 plus people, and you're like, I've never even heard of this person before. So let's watch this. If you guys like it, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. If you'd like to go above and beyond that, become a member as little as $5. We just give you our thoughts and reactions on videos and news stories. Get your thoughts and opinions as well. Jason says, there's a new trailer for the Rivals PvE mode. Oh, is there? We'll watch it after this. All right, here we go.
Video game companies are extremely successful these days, so my question is, why do they keep trying to self-destruct? All right,
it's a great question. Making billions of dollars, most successful business, you can combine all other things together, and they don't beat the video game industry. Why are they self-destructing? That man's got a lot of fight sticks behind him. You think he likes fighting games? I think so. There's a Sega Dreamcast down there. It's old PlayStation.
Secret that in the news lately we've had a lot of companies making interesting decisions that as a consumer I just cannot understand, because as far as I can tell, this is the healthiest video gaming has ever been. If I'm not mistaken,
ever been. 189 billion.
Video games is sometimes calculated as bigger than the movie industry. People used to think of the movie industry as things that games could aspire to be like. But now they've, as far as I'm aware, surpassed the movie industry, and there's way more profit to be made in video games. I don't know if it's way more, but I think there's a lot of money to be made in the video games industry. And so the companies that are interesting to me as a video gamer and a musician are companies like PlayStation, Sony.
You don't trust this guy? Why? What has he said so far that you don't trust him?
Microsoft, who own Xbox, obviously, OpenAI, Meta, Nintendo, and then, like I say, as a musician, I'm also really interested in guitars and companies like Fender.
Do you guys know the story about Fender? Right? Do you know the story about Fender? Fender's trying to copyright guitars. So so basically nobody can make a guitar.
Company is just making really bizarre decisions. So one of the bigger recent controversies obviously was Sony announcing that they were going to stop making physical discs for their console, which they sell you as a more expensive option if it has a disc.
Here's the thing. I think if Sony and Xbox did the whole digital thing and said the next system will be digital only, I don't think it would be as bad as people that still have a PlayStation 5 right now and Xbox, and they're saying there's going to be no physical games anymore. Meaning, because we're still in this cycle of this generation. And after the next one comes out, then you could be like, oh, if you buy the next system, there's no physical games anymore, right? But there's still physical games for this. And after this system will go for 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 years. So you have like another 6 years out of this system, just like every other system before, right? But to say that there's none and they're just swapping it in the middle of this generation, not only have they raised the price of these consoles, but now they're telling you that they're not even going to make physical games anymore for these consoles. I think if they just said it, oh, the next systems, when they announce it, they're like, oh yeah, there's not going to be physical discs anymore. I think it would have been held differently. People will still be pissed off, but at least they can still buy games now.
Drive. So they're actually selling a product. I don't know if they've discontinued it already, but the PlayStation 5 that I bought it because it has a disk drive. And I think some lawmaker in Brazil is actually suing.
Yeah, because it's shitty because you bought the disk drive, but now you're saying you're not going to make discs for that disk drive anymore during the time that you bought it, which there could be some lawsuits there.
Sony, because they're like, well, you made us pay extra for this thing that you're not actually going to support and make media for, so what's going on there? So obviously the discussion about Sony and PlayStation discontinuing discs is a big issue, but obviously like Xbox is also...
No, Blocky, them saying that the next system doesn't have disk drive is fine. What I'm saying is they're taking it away from the systems that we currently have. Do you know what I'm saying? They're saying any game after 2028. Like, there's still people playing PlayStation 4 and Xbox One 13 years later. We're year 6 into this generation. Meaning the next 6 years, well, actually, after the 8 years. So the next 4 or 5 years after the 2028 comes out, you're not going to have any physical discs for Xbox. Meaning, you bought a disc drive, and you no longer can use it for this console generation for any new game after 2028.
So suffering, it's like... They don't know, like, you know, they're way below the amount of money that they're supposed to be making or had predicted that they would be making at this time. And, like, Xbox is part of Microsoft, which is the company which is developing Copilot, which is their AI, which, if I'm not mistaken...
All hands on deck.
Is a technology that is driving up the price of memory. And as a result of the increasing prices of RAM, that's going to have a knock-on effect on this hardware product that Xbox wants to make, a new console, which I think is being called Project Helix.
But that's the problem, Leo, right? That's the problem. You bought a disk drive. There's people that, like him, he bought the actual PlayStation with the disk drive. And then you bought a separate disk drive. And then during the middle of the console cycle, they're like, yeah, we're not making any more discs for that.
It just sounds like there's too many cooks trying to spoil this broth. And one person's like, we should make a new console. The other person's like, we should make everything subscription only and make everything an Xbox. It's like, well, if everything's an Xbox, then why should people buy an Xbox?
That's exactly right. And if everything, they want subscription models. That's what they want.
Everyone's just stirring this pot. It doesn't make any sense anymore. Nintendo also, it's like, we're incredibly successful. Everybody has a Switch or a Switch 2. I think it's like one of the most big selling consoles of all time.
It's the fastest selling console of all time right now. And the Switch 1 is going to surpass to be the best selling console of all time.
As far as I'm aware. So as far as I can tell, Nintendo is not struggling. But then they're like, maybe we can patent the idea of capturing monsters. This is like, what is this? Are we going to start?
We're going to be playing it tonight, B-Bay. Me and Sarge are going to be playing tonight. I haven't really looked at anybody else playing it and talking about it.
Are we bringing all of our video game mechanics of every video game that comes out, and we're going to bring them to the patent office? It's like matching 3 colored tiles. Can we patent that?
Right.
Capturing monsters and forcing them to do battle for us. Can we patent that? It's like, I don't know. So I'm just kind of confused about why companies that are successful, I'm not talking about companies that are struggling, why are companies that are successful, why are they choosing to self-destruct instead of just succeed? Why don't they just continue succeeding?
See, that's a good question. If you're already making a shit ton of money and you're the most successful, most profitable that you've ever been up to this point, why make that choice? Like, seriously, chat. I understand, Sarge, greed, right? But let's break that down for a second. Why would you, when you're making the most, we watched that video yesterday at the very end where if you move the needle and stuff and it shows the profit to consumer ratio and stuff like that, why would you tank it? Why would you self-destruct something where you could make all the money like you were making, but now because you've done this, you're fucking up, potentially you could be fucking up your business, and your business could go belly up if you do it the wrong way. Like, why sabotage yourself? It tells me, one, it is greed, and they want to make $10 billion in 2 years than over 10 years. You know what I'm saying? They don't want to make $1 billion a year for the next 10 years. They want to make $2 billion over the next 5 years type of thing.
It's not like they're short of cash or anything, and they're letting go of human workers anyway, so they've probably got more cash than they ever had before. Maybe they're just paying a lot in severance and then paying more money to rehire all the people that they thought they could get rid of, but ended up not being able to get rid of because AI can't actually replace them. I'm really confused, and that's on the video game side. Now, if you follow my music channel, or if you are
well, I think that's a big problem, Jesse. I think it is because most businesses. I just watched the video on bowling, right? Where the bowling alleys are being bought up by I think it's Bolero, right? We have a couple Boleros here, and they're going around changing all of the bowling alleys to the wire, you know, where the strings are attached to the pins and whatnot, and they're constantly changing. And because they went belly up, Bolero, right, bought all these up. The Lucky Strikes guys, I think that are now Bolero, and they're going around and making bowling super expensive. They're changing out the machines, they're doing all this stuff, but they're chucking up the prices where now nobody can afford bowling, because if you go with the bowling family of 4 and they get like food and drinks, it costs you $300 to go bowling, where bowling used to cost, right, for a family of 4 like $35, right, because of greed. Right? They're getting way, way less people. Okay. So we got because we're actually bowling at a Bolero. We got the summer pass, right? We paid $80. Okay. I think it was $80. It was 50. It was 80 for the entire summer. I can go every single day and bowl 2 games for the price of that. Okay. Well, we've already got our money's worth for that. Right. So now we're down to like dollars a game, where if I went and just bought the thing myself, it would cost me 15 times for the price than just what I'm paying $1 a game basically now, right? It makes no sense, but that's what they want. And during the summer, bowling alley is pretty busy. Not during the summer, no one's fucking there. You have the whole, it's like I'm Justin Bieber and I rented out the whole bowling alley. No one's there.
Interested in music at all, you may have also heard that in the music world, there's a controversy where Fender...
And my point to that was, it's investors, it's banks, it's people that are investing in certain businesses and not investing in the people that make the businesses.
Even if you don't like music, you've heard of Fender because they make the guitar that was like right there at the beginning of electric guitars. You know, Leo Fender was like, I'm going to turn a lap steel.
I don't know if he bowls. I'm just saying that rich people can rent out buildings. And it's so dead that I feel like I'm rich and I rented out the building.
Into a guitar you can actually hold and plug into an amplifier, and lo and behold, we have the Fender Telecaster and the Stratocaster. They're trying to copyright the Stratocaster.
What's wrong with these businesses, right? Fender is trying to copyright the guitar. How else would you build a guitar?
As a piece of art. So it's not like, okay, they tried to trademark the design, they couldn't trademark it, so everyone else made Stratocasters as well. And Fender's like, well, maybe we can copyright it as a work of art. like 70 years after we made it. It's like,
Fucking stupid. So stupid.
I don't. Can you really enforce your copyright on something that you let people build their livelihoods around for the past 70 years? It's like, I don't know. Like, maybe if you wanted to win that
If you did it in the beginning, sure. You can't do it now.
copyright battle, maybe 70 years ago
70 years ago.
was a better time to do that. But at the same time, that's how copyright law works. So maybe they can actually win this and get a copyright over this work of art, which actually was just a commercial product. And it's the same thing with video games, the whole monster catching thing. It's like, well, I don't know, we just need mechanics in our video games, but are we going to patent the idea of going through a menu like attack, item, run away?
I mean, look what Warner Brothers did with the what was that system? We always talk about it. And I can't. The moral system. What the hell is it called? That was in Shadows of Mordor.
Like, is that
Nemesis.
something
Nemesis system, right?
you can patent? Does that mean no one can ever make other RPGs? It's like, where does it end? And what I really want to ask is why? Why
Thanks, Arch. Yeah, I got
have
it.
companies decided to self-destruct by suing other companies out of existence, or just making decisions that really upset all the people who like love your company? People loved PlayStation. I'm using
They still do, right? There's still people that love the companies, but it's like, why are they trying to shit on the people that like their company? They're like, oh, a portion of us, everyone loves Sony. But they're like, well, there's a portion that we don't want to like Sony anymore, so we're gonna fuck them over. It's like, I don't know if that's a good business model. Be like, no, it'll work out in the end, right? We'll get rid of the people that loved us, that now hate us. They'll come back and love us again, but they already love us. They're like, shh, just listen, okay? Sit down and learn. We'll show you what greed looks like.
past tense because I loved PlayStation as well. And it's not that I hate PlayStation now, but I'm just not sure if they're going to...
Right. So think about that for a second. The clientele loved PlayStation, right? People like PlayStation. But now they're like not sure if they should like PlayStation. Why would you implement something that gives doubt to the customers that are already with you? It makes no sense in any way, shape, or form.
course correct on this. So my fan power, the amount of fandom in me for Sony PlayStation is kind of shit.
This is why I'm not a fan of anything when it comes to corporate decisions. I just play video games where I want to play video games.
Shaky right now, which is really sad because I loved Sony products up until now. I had a Sony. I don't know. I never actually had an official Walkman. I had like an Emerson Walkman. That's what my parents bought me. But eventually they did buy me a Sony Discman, so I can't complain too much. But I had a Sony Discman. I have a Sony MZR55 mini disc player.
Yeah, you have all these things because you liked what they made. All right? I loved my Sony Walkman back in the day. I love all my Sony PlayStations that I have. Right? But why is the company trying to fuck me over?
I had the Sony, it was called the Dream Machine. I had a CD player by Sony, and it would play CDs to wake me up, and it was called the Dream Machine. I bought it at the Sony shop, at the Sony Center in the UK. Anyway, I had a Sony camcorder. My first YouTube videos on this channel ever was shot with a C116E.
Yeah, I have a Sony, one of the best cameras I've ever owned. I forget what the number is, right? Actually, do I don't know where it is, but I have a Sony camera that's like 20-something years old, okay? One of the best cameras I've ever fucking owned, right? I like Sony. I'm okay with Sony, right? But I'm not okay with a company that's trying to dick me over on things when I have no choice. You're making no choice for me, right? It's like, I liked you, but now you want me to hate you. Why?
Sony camcorder. I loved that thing. Like, oh man, I could go on and on about how much I loved Sony, and I just can't understand. Like, how can they just look at all the goodwill that they've built up over the years
It makes
and go,
no sense.
We should capitalize on this and make...
Right. We're making more money than we've ever before off the people that we have. How do we screw a percentage over?
our company even more successful, and then look at that decision and go, Nah, let's get rid of the disk drive. Like, I understand that digital is the future.
It makes me wonder, because you know how I've talked in the past, chat, those of you that have been with us for a really long time, there's always a reason why they do certain things, right? The whole industry is moving in this direction, right? Are they moving in this direction because they know something down the road of AI, and AI where we can just make our own games, right? Sort of like what we're doing with music right now, right? People can make music much easier than people can make music ever in the past. And those people are also listening to the music that they create because they're making that music that they like, right? Sort of like painting your own picture and being an artist and stuff like that, right? Making your own movies with the AI, the way they generate movies and make fan films now, right? There's this whole other like area where if you're a customer, you really don't care because you're just like, I'm just being entertaining myself. I'm doing my own thing. I can be creative, and that's what it is. Is Sony, Microsoft, and them super terrified? And they know that if they don't change it right now, 5 years from now, right, that's it for them. That's it for them, right? And I'm not saying this is like a hyperbolic way. I'm asking a question, right? Do they know, do they see the tea leaves before where down the road, they're like, we have to do this now because 5 years from now, 8 years from now, 10 years from now, it's over. We're not going to be around. So they have to start pressing as much as they can for the last generation, because if the last generation is going to be it, then they gotta go out with a bang. I don't know, right? Because we can look at this 5 years from now and go, this is the reason they did it. This is the reason they did it, right? Like jetpacks, right? We don't have jetpacks, but we start seeing people using jetpacks, and we're like, oh, well, how long has that been in the thing? Tinfoil hat, digital games can be tracked easier, controlled easier than physical can. Companies and governments can't track what you do if you play discs offline. That could be it. I mean, but if it's digital or physical, they still have you signing in, right? You still have to have an account to play the game if it's physical or digital. I don't know. It makes me wonder. And obviously, we don't know the answer. We'll figure out what the answer is down the road.
But killing off disc production for a console that is still being made now. This is still a current console. I specifically bought a version with a disc drive because I wanted the flexibility of buying games, selling games, handing games to my friends, being able to borrow games from people who didn't want to play the games that they had bought already. That is one of the main reasons why people still have consoles in the digital age. Otherwise, we would all be Steam only or GOG only.
Yes.
We'd be PC only people. But we're not. Console.
That's another great point that he just brought up. If you want to go all digital, right? Most likely you would want to go with Steam. There's way more for bang for your buck for money for that. People on console was convenient instead of playing on PC with keyboard and mouse and stuff like that in the past. That it was convenient. You wanted to buy physical. Hence why people bought. I mean, I bought the Series X because it has a disc drive. Because I still wanted to put discs in my machine, right? If people bought the PlayStation 5 and then 5 Pro with the disc drive, right? Because they still wanted to have discs. But yet PlayStation's like, yeah, no, fuck them. And it doesn't make any sense to me.
Still has various benefits, like the console itself is usually cheaper than buying a full-on PC. That's probably going to change. But also
That's another thing, right? If consoles go up in the same price or come near close to the PCs, what's the point of a console?
have a disc drive, which means that we can buy games, sell games, pass them on to other people, share them with each other. I just can't understand why Sony would make this decision. Like, they had the better decision, which would be, okay, PS6 will not have a disc drive. It's obviously not the future. And then we'd be like, okay, now we can choose to not buy a PS6, but I can't choose to not buy.
That's my whole point. It would have been better if they just told it, all right, the next system's not going to have. When the next system comes out, there will be no physical disc. But for this system, there still are discs. It doesn't make sense, Chad.
My PS5, because I already own it. I already spent. I made a video about how difficult it was to get a PS5 in Japan. You couldn't even get permission to buy one without signing up for a credit card. I signed up for a store credit card. And as a foreigner in Japan, that's really hard just because my name has Roman alphabet letters in it. That was really difficult, but I went through all the hoops and jumped through everything so that I could get myself the permission to buy a PlayStation 5 with a disk drive. I'm confused about why this is happening. On the music side, it's even more baffling because this Fender situation, it's like...
Yeah, that's crazy with the Fender.
Trying to trying to copyright the design of the guitar, which is like, to some extent, like, this is just the shape that guitars have to be. Like, there's got to be a place where I stick my strap on the left side and a place where I stick my strap on the right side. And as a result, these guitars have horns now. If every guitar that has a horn here and a horn down here so that you can actually access the rest of the neck, do we always have to pay some licensing money?
Yeah, if they win that, yeah, that's exactly what you would have to do.
To make a guitar with that shape? Like, why isn't there a copyright on the original guitar shape, like the Dreadnought?
Because when they built it because they wanted to make the product. They weren't trying to think of greedy corporation. But Fender probably became a greedy corporation. This is why they're trying to patent and copyright the guitar.
One that's just like a giant acoustic guitar, you know? Is there a patent for that, or a copyright for that, or a trademark for that? I'm just so confused because I get it. Like, you can make risky decisions as a company if you think you're going to make big gains. But what I don't understand is...
And I think that's what they're doing. They want to make big gains, but the reason is, why do you want to make the big gains faster than you were? Because you were already making big gains. But why do you want to exponentially make it faster by shitting over a portion of your audience?
Is why the companies doing it are the companies that don't seem to have any real issues at the moment. They're all doing very well. As far as I'm aware, Fender is like the most well-known guitar company on earth, right? Even when people were saying that you could buy cheaper guitars with better quality, I still was actively trying to buy myself.
Because Fender built up that goodwill. You're like, oh man, I like playing Fender, right? Not me personally, but I don't play guitar. But if you played guitar, you'd be like, oh man, Fender is the name. Sort of like when you say tractor and say John Deere, or when you say shoes and you think Nike, right? They've built the brand, and you appreciate the brand because they make good quality, and that's why you keep going back to that brand. But then all of a sudden that brand like turns around and stabs you in the back, and you're like, bro, I liked your brand. Why are you doing this?
An expensive Fender. That was still a dream of mine because I grew up hearing about Fender. You won't be able to wipe out guitar history from the past 100 years, 70 years at least. They're all playing, not all of them, but a huge number of famous people that you loved who played guitar for you. They probably played it on a Fender. So this company that's like doing very well, they're like, should we just capitalize on our success? Nah, let's make a crazy decision that's going to make people either hate us forever, or we might make some small financial gain out of it. Same thing with PlayStation. Same thing with, it feels like with Nintendo, with like every company, not every company, but it feels like in my world, which is video games and music,
in some
and
parts,
art and photography. It just feels like every company is just deciding, well, we're doing very well. Let's take a giant gamble by seeing whether we can get everyone...
They see the future, though. They know what the next 5 years is.
...to hate us. And if they don't hate us, we might make a little bit extra money.
That's exactly right.
I can't understand what kind of thinking would lead to that. I have heard that one of the things that does cause this to happen is private equity. But I don't think...
Yeah, but Sony doesn't have private equity, I don't think, right? I don't think Sony has private equity. They're a publicly traded company. They don't have any private equity.
I think all the companies we're talking about here are actually being bought out by private equity.
Like private is now EA, right? They bought out privately, so they don't have to be on the market. Sony and Microsoft are publicly traded companies.
Equity, I think. Is Sony? Sony's not owned by private equity, are they? Nintendo? I don't think they're
so.
Owned by private equity. Fender, I think, has been bought by Servco. I don't know if that counts specifically as private equity, but my very, very basic understanding of private equity is that companies with a lot of money come into companies that they think they could improve, make more profitable, take the money, and then leave. And then when they leave, the company's like in a better position. But from what I've seen, even when this has happened, it's usually they leave the companies as more of a husk of what they used to be. And then these companies that aren't private equity owned, like
Sarge says it's possible that private equity might be buying a controlling percentage of Sony. We have to look that up. Yeah, I don't know.
I assume that Sony owns themselves and Nintendo owns themselves. They're just making bizarre decisions. Just like, I don't know, how much money is there to be made from this? And what happened to just, I don't know, letting other people succeed as well, and that makes you want to make a better product? I can't understand.
Yeah, because if they're already as profitable as they are, right? And they just leave it as is, where you can still buy physical and you can still get digital. In what world is that hurting anybody? They're making a shit ton of money. They're keeping their customers happy, right? Everything's okay. If you want digital, you get digital. If you want physical, you get physical. If you want a mixture, you get mixture, right? They're making billions of dollars. They're making profit. I think, here, this is off the top of my head, right? I think Sony's lost a shit ton of money recently. And to make this up, this is why they're going digital, right? They fucked up with Concord. They fucked up with multiple live service games. They fucked up with Bungie. There's billions of dollars that they've fucked up with over the last 4 or 5 years. And now to make that up, because in the long run, to make that up, it might take 10 years. But now they've decided to do this, which will make them, even though they're more profitable, right? They'll make that money back faster because they go digital. Because if they only make $40 per sale before, but now they're making a full $70, right? That's an additional $30. So they can shrink that cost off much faster. Maybe that's what they're doing.
At what point companies just decided that making a better product so that they could get back into the race was just not in their interest? It seems like when you're losing a race, you have two options, right?
Yeah, but they're not losing the race. Sony's not losing a race.
You can run a bit faster and you can catch up with the people who kind of overtook you. It's like, okay, so let's say that you make game consoles, but then Sega makes a better games console, and then you run faster, and then Sega can't keep up, and then they end up selling their gaming business entirely. Or
which is what happened.
Decided to go into making games and not making consoles anymore, right? So they either quit or they run faster, and then they keep, competing, right? It seems like the option that people choose these days is just, I'm gonna pick up a hammer and I'm just gonna smack my opponent's knee.
That's Nancy Kerrigan. That's exactly what Sony's doing right now.
It's like, okay,
I don't want to run faster. I'm gonna cripple you so I don't have no competition.
I guess, like, maybe there was a time in history where that worked. Maybe you could just do that. You could just like smack your opponent's knees, break their legs so that they can't run anymore.
I mean, it literally happened in the Olympics back in the day, the Winter Olympics.
And then you can run.
If you guys don't know that story.
Faster, and then you succeed. But I don't know. Maybe it's just me, but in 2026, it doesn't feel like the world works that way. If it did work that way, I'm actually a little bit surprised. But it certainly doesn't feel like it would work that way, because if you...
What was her name? Tanya Harding, right? It was Tanya Harding and Nancy Kerrigan. I think what's happened. Tanya Harding and Nancy Kerrigan were in competition with each other, and Tanya Harding didn't want to compete. So she hired her boyfriend or her husband at the time to attack Nancy Kerrigan and hit her in the leg so she couldn't compete with a baseball bat. That's what happened.
Do something either just to piss off your own fan base or to like break the legs of your opponents. It doesn't even matter if you win. Even if you break your opponent's legs and you get to be the only player in the race so that you win by default, you're just going to lose because your reputation is so destroyed.
That's what I talked about yesterday. I think what Sony's doing, they think that they're not going to lose the money, but I think what they're going to do is they're going to do reputable harm to the brand damage. Okay? And this just popped in my head. A lot of people think like they're doing that the boycott thing, right? which I think they should do the boycott during a major release, not the week before. But anyway, I don't think it's going to work. But I don't think you need to do a boycott like that. Like, we don't need to tell people to don't play a game for a certain week to make a showing. Did we forget that? Remember Bud Light? Remember just recently with Cracker Barrel? Remember Target and John Deere? There's like a small portion of people that didn't want to support these companies, and they literally changed course. Bud Light is still recovering, right, from the fuck up they did, and people boycotted it, but they didn't boycott and like, hey, we're all boycotting on this day. No, people just stopped buying the beer. They just stopped buying Bud Light. They just stopped supporting Cracker Barrel. They just stopped supporting Target for a small little piece of time, and everyone shifted what they did. The companies shifted. So when people say, oh, it's too late, you can't do it, right? They just, what Sarge said, they just walked away. They just stopped going to the thing. They stopped shopping. They stopped buying. They stopped doing what the thing. So it's not impossible, right? Big corporations can fail and fall real fast if people just stop. They just stop. Not an organized stop, not stopping on this day. You just walk away. And when you walk away, you kind of just forget about it and you'll go play something else. You go do something else, right? Who would have thought that you could boycott Bud Light? Come on, think about that. Bud Light's a giant. Budweiser is a fucking gigantic company. Yet people weren't buying the beer. Just shelves empty because no one wanted to buy the stuff because no one would support them if they bought the stuff. You see what I'm saying? Things can change, but people forget real fast that we can do stuff if we do it together.
That no one's going to want to buy from you anyway. What worries me is that maybe there's enough evidence behind the scenes that companies can do this and get away with it. So that you may have seen recently, there's a large controversy with a company called Bricks and Minifigs. I'm not going to comment on this situation.
That's a perfect example of what he's about to bring up. Bricks and Minifigs, right? You probably heard about them, but through some form of a telephone game because of YouTube and whatnot of news stories that are happening, right? I don't even shop at Bricks and Minifigs. I'm not shopping there because of the boycott, but people are not going to Bricks and Minifigs because of what happened to one person and then someone made a video about it, right? And there was no, hey, don't support Bricks and Minifigs because there's only about one store in Utah. But yet people are not supporting the company across, and they're independent franchises, right? These are people that own Bricks and Minifigs. They're getting hurt because of what happened across the thing, right? It's crazy to think that we can't do something, yet every day something happens and we all do something.
In itself, because I just do not know enough about it. But I have been watching the videos about it. It was actually said, I think, in a letter that was leaked during the Bricks and Minifigs thing. I think they had sent to all of their franchisees a letter that said, we've been told that, if we just wait, these things tend to go away after
Ignore
30
it.
days or a few months. And what worries me the most is that maybe that's true. Maybe
it is true. That's why they told people not to say anything. Out of sight, out of mind.
On the internet, we are all convinced that we are united. We definitely don't want to let Sony win and kill off physical media, and we're going to keep fighting with our wallets. And wow, Sony is losing so many fans, and Xbox is not making any money, and Nintendo is losing their lawsuit, and nobody wants to buy Fenders. I'm actually a little bit worried that none of that's actually true, and that actually the reality of the situation is that when we're on the internet, we think we're winning, but actually what's happening is that after 2 or 3 months...
Yeah, but here's the thing. I don't care if you stop buying something or that person stops buying something or that person stops buying something. I don't care. I know what I can do myself, right? Now, again, I'm not boycotting Sony because I don't own a PlayStation. But if I did own a PlayStation, I wouldn't be buying any games from them. I wouldn't throw my Sony PlayStation out the window or anything. I just wouldn't be buying any more from them. Be like, all right, everything up to this point is the thing it is. That's what I would do, right? I wouldn't care what anyone else does, okay? I wouldn't purchase if I did purchase, if I had a PlayStation 5 and I had pre-ordered Wolverine, because this is a hell of a what if moment, because I wouldn't pre-order anything, I would stop pre-ordering. I'd be like, nope, I don't care. But that's me, right? I'm not you. You're not me. I don't need to know what everyone else is doing on the internet and be like, oh, I'm going to join forces. No, I just stop buying the thing. That's what I would do.
All of these companies are going to discover that the backlash does disappear and that they can actually just continue getting away with doing whatever they want. For example, taking away our digital licenses for things that we already paid for, and they can make up whatever excuse they want. It's just like, oh, we don't have the license for that anymore, and so if we don't have the license, we can't offer you the digital license. So not only will you not be able to re-download it, it just won't be accessible at all on your system. We're just going to delete it. If that is actually what's happening, that's kind of messed up.
That is what's happening.
So really, I want to end this with a question. Why have all these companies decided to self-destruct instead of just continue winning? It seems like every company has a way of just winning if they just play the game normally.
Right. Just make a game, sell the game. That's all they got to do. And yet they can't help themselves. They can't help themselves, and they have to do something where it changes the thing. And it's just mind-boggling. I'm telling you, there's got to be a reason they're doing this, and we won't find out until 5 years from now.
Is that just too boring? Or is there some unknown threat that we don't know about? Because as far as I can tell, you wouldn't act this way unless there was some serious threat.
Yep.
And I just think we don't know what that, if there is a threat, I feel like we just don't know what it is. Like, this can't just be greed, because if it is actually greed, none of these decisions...
I mean, I think greed is a really big portion of it.
Makes sense.
That's the only evidence that we have right now. Greed.
It's like, I think we could make a bit more money if we make everybody angry. It's like, we know that's not going to work, so we should probably not do that. You would have a meeting in your company, and everyone would just go, yeah, we might make a bit more money, but that's obviously a bad idea.
Right. Is the percentage of us making more money, is it going to hurt the business long term? And they go, well, there's a 3.4% chance, a 5% chance, whatever. Blah, blah. I'm like, all right, that's fine.
We're all going to lose our jobs if we do that. It looks like those meetings either never happened, or someone came into the meeting and said, look, guys, AI is coming, and it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when.
Right.
And actually that when is
but what is AI doing?
Let's say that it's decided.
If AI comes in and it's doing exactly what they want it to do, that means they would lose less employees. They would still make more money. But how is that a fear for them if the AI is doing it? That means that even though they're going to be using it, they know that we can use it just as much, and then we don't need them anymore. So they're trying to cash out now.
That AI is coming, and if we don't go all digital by that point, PlayStation as a brand might disappear. Like,
yeah.
Oh, okay, that sounds scary. In that case, I could understand why they would make a decision like that. But I think as consumers, as gamers, as just regular people trying to enjoy our lives and even like have the permission to spend our money and buy these things from these companies, it's just not clear to us why our favorite company...
They want to be clear and transparent, but yet they don't want to be clear and transparent.
...are acting like there's some massive Godzilla-sized threat coming for them. And they're acting as if like they've got to do everything they can to stay afloat. Like, these are multi-billion corporations. Like, they've got a lot of money. So why are they acting so scared? What scares me is that maybe there is a reason to be scared, and I just don't know what it is. And I would like to know what it is, because it can't just be AI is scary and we think it might be a big...
Is this dude casually just solving a Rubik's Cube as he's talking to us? No, I'm kidding.
Deal. So let's make some changes. Like, there has to be something more to it than that. But I honestly don't know what it is. And I would, if you happen to know...
He just casually just solved. He's just like...
what it is these companies are...
I used to be able to do that. Not as fast as him, but I used to be able to do it.
Scared of, and why they would make such massive plans to like self-destruct instead of just continue getting the win on pretty much every front. I would like to know. So let me know in the comments section below if you have any ideas. That's all from me today. I've been Nihongo Gamer. I hope you've enjoyed this.
There you go. So I've never watched it before. Give it a like. Give it a sub. I thought it was informational. I mean, it asked the question, right? Why are they doing it, right? Is the percentage enough that they feel that, again, let's say it's 5%. 5% is a big number. But let's say 5% of, which is like 5 million people, right? Let's say it's like 5 million. Let's say they have 100 million people on Sony. They lose 5% to 7%. So they lose like 7 million people that are like, I'm done with Sony. Is that worth the squeeze of the other guys that they now pissed off the 7 million? They're like, oh, they'll either come back, but let's just say they never come back. They just leave. They're like, yeah, we're okay because these people are going to pay for those people, right? So they don't care, which is mind-boggling to me because these people were willing to pay. These people were willing to buy whatever you were selling because they loved your company. Now you've skewed a 5%, 6%, 7% of the people. All right, let me see what you guys are saying. The crowd says they're calling everyone's bluff. Alton says they had a meeting in the company, and that this is why the executive sold part of his shares days before, letting people know we'll still stop doing discs. That there is something going on. Again, we won't know. Travis says, plot twist. The threat is they will release another disease to lock us in our houses again. Jesus. Well, that's pretty dark. Let's see here. Alton says I used to be able to solve a Rubik's Cube, but I got a knee injury, and now I'm not able to. A knee injury? What does that have to do with that? 30, there's a preview for a sequel I know you're waiting for. I can't fool you. Can't fool me. It's the most anticipated game. Okay, let me see what you got. Let me see what you got there, Travis. Let me see. I'm opening it up now. This better be good. This better be good. Why is it taking so long? My God, Discord, what's happening today? Maybe it's my computer. Let's see. Aliens, Fire Team Elite 2. Yeah, I don't care. Jesse Max says they already know that they're going to lose the fight because AI and customers will be using AI to make hardware and games at movies tools at home. I think that's got to be something, right, Jesse? It's got to be something. I know we look at it now and go, it's going to take fucking years to make it. There's people already making games, man. There's people already making full-length feature films. There's people making music. There's people, right? I think it's faster than we ever thought of. Well, most people ever thought of. Ray says, what if Sony is selling? Selling what? Them? Look, we had a conversation a couple weeks ago, a rumor going around that Sony might sell the Spider-Man back to Marvel. And you'd be like, why would they do that? Right? Well, they can make lots of billions of dollars. Right? They lost a lot of money with the live service games, which they're now going double down on. But they've lost a lot of money between Concord, the live service games, Bungie, and all that stuff. It makes you wonder if it's plausible, right? I know people are like, it's a bullshit rumor. But a lot of what's going on with Sony right now, it's plausible. Leo says, Sony must really hate secondhand market. Oh, they all do. The gaming market. Think about this, though, right? They made their billions of dollars while there was a secondhand market, right? So they were very successful, and they've been around for 20 years with the secondhand market, and they're the most successful they've ever been, and yet they hate that market, and now that market is completely gone because of what they're doing. Oh, thank you. We'll watch that. The Marvel Rival new trailer. PvE. Is it just a minute 24? Is that what it is? All right, let's watch this. Let's watch this. The new trailer for Marvel Rivals PvE mode.
There is only one path to peace, the Avengers' extinction. Avengers, assemble!
Widow style.
Is it just the Avengers, the original Avengers, the 6 Avengers, going up against just waves of Ultron? So it's a horde mode?
Friday, lock and load.
This is for Pietro!
All right. Can I use July 30th? Can I use more than just a limited amount of guys? I want to use anybody during this time frame. Like, let me use everybody. I don't want to just use like 4 people. The secondhand market, even the third-party market for accessories such as attachments, consoles, faceplates, controllers for sure. Console plates, controllers, no benefits at all for them. Yeah, 100%. Steve Got Cook says they don't want to share that cut anymore. Yeah, they don't want it at all. But it's a $7 billion industry, right? And they think that $7 billion is going to go back to them. Unfortunately, what's going to happen is those people are just not going to buy games anymore. They won't. Because they couldn't afford your games originally, so they're not going to go buy your games now. I don't know if there's more info. Let me see. Path to Doomsday. Let me see if there's like an article or something. Let's see. News, IGN, Doomsday Avenger, 1 hour ago. Path of Doomsday Avengers. Watch the Path of Doomsday Avengers Age of Ultron PvE mode trailer for Marvel Rivals. Hit the team-based hero shooter developed by NetEase. No, they don't say shit. They just show you the trailer. Doomsday, PvE mode, fresh Avenger Tower map, movie accurate, fresh Avengers Tower map, movie accurate, cosmetics, Scarlet Witch and Ultron after the first chapter, mixed reception. Okay, when does Age of Ultron drop? No, that's not telling me anything. What actually different about this event? The first Path of Doomsday chapter used a 1v6 PvP format themed around the original Avengers film. Reception was also lukewarm at best. NetEase also clearly taken note because the Age of Ultron chapter swaps out entirely for a PvE mode where your team up with other players to fight through the Ultron's armies. The setting of the Avengers Tower, a new map built specifically for this event, details of objective difficulty tiers and reward structures haven't been fully detailed yet, but the shift of the cooperative PvE is a significant change in direction from the previous chapter. You're getting the Ultron and Scarlet Witch theme bundle type of stuff. It doesn't really say. I want to know how many people you can use. They don't tell you how many people you can use. We saw Iron Man. We saw Captain America, Scarlet Witch. I hope it's not just them. I would assume it's six characters. I would hope. Right? 4 characters, 6 characters. Ron says, Concord died so Marvel Rivals could live. All right, we got a lot of stuff today. A lot of stuff today that we talked about. We'll be back tonight over on Fake Wizard News at 7 o'clock over on Fake Wizard News channel. Talk about topics for this past week with Tom, Fake Wizard, and Isaac. And then after that, we'll be over on 30 and Still Gaming playing some Halo Combat Evolute. What was it called? Evolved campaign, the new Halo that came out. Me and Sarge are going to be playing that tonight over on 30 and Still Gaming. That'll be around like 9:15 this evening. If you guys like what I do, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. We do this Monday through Thursday from 10 o'clock in the morning till noon Eastern. You can also purchase, look at the shop down below for the apparel. We got hats and shirts and stuff like that. And also, what's it called? We got the music over on Spotify, Pandora, iHeart, and stuff as well. So other than that, I appreciate it very much. You guys have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Thanks for watching. Peace.
Another showcase, another lie, another trail of money can't buy. Marketing teams with panic in their eyes, watching one day swallow up the sky. Publishers hiding, moving release plans, years of development buried in the sand. We'll launch next month, they quietly say, cause nobody wants to die that day. Coffee stain meetings, executives pray, looking at projections, watching profits fade away. The GTA effect, every studio's a nervous wreck. Move your launch date, save yourself. Nothing survives when GTA hits the shelf. It's the GTA effect, years of planning get put in check. One giant shadow over everyone else. Nothing survives when GTA hits the shelf. Servers melting from the weight of the crowd. Every social feed screaming loud. The streamers smile.